Everybody likes to talk about karma coming round. Like some wheel up in the heavens keeps on spinning just as down. He got his, she'll get hers. We say it with a grin, like we're sitting in the grandstand, keeping score of someone else's sin. But I've lived enough to notice, and I've learned enough to know there ain't much mystery in harvesting exactly what you sow. You can dress it up with fancy words, but truth is still the truth. Sooner or later what you planted starts producing fruit. They call it karma, God calls it harvest. Every seed eventually finds a light. You can hide the field, forget where you planted, but the ground remembers every time. Plant a little mercy, mercy may find you. Plant bitterness and watch how bitter grows. They call it karma when it comes back around. God calls it harvest when you reap what you sow. You can plant a lie on Monday, water it all week. By Friday it's got branches and everybody's heard it speak. You can sow a little anger, let resentment take its root, but then wonder why your garden keeps producing rotten fruit. But kindness grows the same way, forgiveness does it too. A little grace you give away might someday come back to you. Every word becomes a seedling, every action leaves a road. So you'd better love the harvest of the things you choose to sow. They call it karma, God calls it harvest. Every seed eventually finds a light. You can hide the field, forget where you planted, but the ground remembers every time. Plant a little mercy, mercy may find you. Plant bitterness and watch how bitter goes. They call it karma when it comes back around. God calls it harvest when you reap what you sow. Now I'm not standing on a hillside pointing fingers down below. I got fields of my own behind me where I planted things that grew. I've tasted my own foolishness, I've swallowed my own pride. I watched some old decisions come walking back into my life. But thank God there's forgiveness, and thank God fields can change. You can pull the weeds you've tended and start planting something new today. The past may leave some furrows, but while you've still got ground, there's another season coming. Put some better seed down. God is not some angry farmer waiting for your crop to fail. He's the one who sends the sunshine, he's the one who sends the rain. But he gave us hands for planting and a choice of what we grow. And somewhere down the road we're gonna meet the seeds that we have sown. They call it karma, God calls it harvest. Every seed eventually finds a light. So plant a little mercy, plant a little kindness, plant something you'll be proud to find. Plant some faith when fear surrounds you. Plant some love everywhere you go. They call it karma when it comes back around. God calls it harvest when you reap what you sow. So before you cheer when someone else gets tangled in what they've grown, take a walk across your own field first and mind the seeds you sow. I was drinking coffee this morning, thinking thoughts I probably shouldn't, solving all the world's problems like an old man thinks he could. Then one crazy little notion came wandering through my head, and before good sense could stop me, here's the foolish thing I said. If God was a woman, we'd all be in trouble. She'd remember every promise and collect them on the double. Then I laughed at my own wisdom, feeling mighty satisfied, till it crossed my mind that God already knows every single time I've lied. If God was a woman, we'd all be in trouble. Every little white lie coming back on the double. Every I'll do it tomorrow. Every it wasn't me. Every time I blame the dog for something obviously me. There'd be nowhere to run. There'd be nowhere to hide. Every half-baked explanation would be dead on arrival. If God was a woman, we'd all be in trouble. Wait a minute. God already knows it all. He knows about the fishing rod I said was $20, and why the brand new tackle box was underneath the truck. He knows I heard the telephone and chose to let it ring, and how I'll only have one cookie somehow turned to 17. He knows when I'm just resting with my eyes shut in the chair, and every Sunday morning when my mind ain't really there. The longer that I thought about this brilliant case I'd made, the more I started realizing I'd better stop digging today. If God was a woman, we'd all be in trouble. Every little white lie coming back on the double. Every I'm almost ready. Every I forgot. Every time I swore I needed something that I probably did not. There'd be nowhere to run. There'd be nowhere to hide. He knows the truth before I get my story organized. If God was a woman, we'd all be in trouble. Hold on now. God already knows it all. Then common sense came knocking and ruined my whole routine. God don't need a woman's memory to know what he has seen. He knew me before I got here, knows every place I've been, every promise I have broken, every place I shouldn't have been. Well, there went my philosophy, shot full of holes again. That's what happens when I start pretending I'm a wise old man. 'Cause God already knows me, every wrinkle, fault, and flaw. Every time I knew the answer, but ignored what I was taught. And here's the part that's funny, though it humbles me inside, knowing everything I've ever done, he hasn't left my side. Maybe that's the bigger lesson, hiding underneath the fun. God doesn't need me perfect to still call me his son. If God was a woman, we'd all be in trouble. At least that's what I thought before I burst my own bubble. Turns out God remembers more than I ever understood. Every time I wasn't truthful, every time I wasn't good. There's nowhere to run, but I don't need to hide. Grace already knows the man I'm trying to disguise. If God was a woman, we'd all be in trouble. But God already knows, and somehow loves us anyway. So next time some brilliant thought comes wandering through my brain, I'll drink my coffee quietly and keep my mouth shut for a change. I watched the world this morning through a little glowing screen. Everybody choosing sides and shouting what they mean. Counting likes like victories, keeping some imaginary score. While somebody behind the numbers can't afford the grocery store. We celebrate another win, somebody takes the blame. But there's a life behind each headline, there's a face behind each name. Maybe we've forgotten what we're doing here today. Life is a story, not a game. Life is a story, not a game. We're more than numbers, more than names. Some pages bring the sunshine, some are written in the rain. Some carry joy, some carry scars, some carry years of pain. You don't win because your neighbor lost. Sooner or later we all pay the cost. Every choice we make writes another page. Life is a story, not a game. Politics becomes a contest, red against the blue. And somewhere in the shouting, we forget what laws can do. Medicine becomes an argument, a battle to be won, while a worried mother holds the hand of her frightened son. Wall Street talks in percentages, economists explain, but down here it's the mortgage, food and diesel once again. Those aren't pieces on a board that we can move around and change. The chapters in somebody's story, and life is not a game. Life is a story, not a game. We're more than numbers, more than names. Some pages bring the sunshine, some are written in the rain. Some carry joy, some carry scars, some carry years of pain. You don't win because your neighbor lost. Sooner or later we all pay the cost. Every choice we make writes another page. Life is a story, not a game. Maybe we've been staring at the scoreboard far too long, trying so hard to prove we're right. We forgot what might be wrong. A clever line can win applause. Anger travels fast, but the words we throw at strangers have a way of coming back. Someday, when the noise is quiet and the screens have lost their flame, nobody's gonna care how many arguments we claim. We'll only have the story and the footprints that remain. So write something worth remembering, 'cause life is not a game. Turn the page before you judge it. Hear the story before you choose. There's a heart across the table with just as much to gain or lose. And if God gave us this one lifetime, I don't believe he meant for us to spend it keeping score against each other when we could be lifting someone up. Life is a story, not a game, where more than numbers, more than names. Some pages bring forgiveness, some are lessons learned through pain. Some will make us stronger if we don't throw them away. You don't win because your neighbor lost. Love was never measured by the cost. So while you still got time, write a better page. Life is a story, not a game. One day we'll close the cover, and somebody may speak our name. I hope they say we lived the story and never treated life like a game.
Demons don't have patience, so they'll always rush. But scripture says, they that wait, come on, man, upon the Lord, right? So waiting is a weapon that Satan will fall under every single time.
That is, I've never heard anything like that.
Waiting is a weapon of mass destruction. It exposes the hand of the enemy because he don't have patience. His spirit is one of rush. That's why they're selling high-speed internet. Everything is quicker. That's why we're getting information so fast now, because we are now being indoctrinated in a world of speed. But God's not moving in speed. If he was, he'd have came back sooner. He'll be here right now if he was moving on speed. There's a pace of God that we need to get back to. But all of that comes through the teaching of the Holy Spirit. I can never go to him and rush. My emergency is not his. I promise you, Ezekiel.
What?
My emergency is not his. Anytime I go to him in an emergency, he slows me down. Well, that's not my emergency. That's yours.
That should change somebody's life.
Bro, when I tell you mature in me, like it's to the point now where when I come to him, it's like humility. Like, okay, Holy Spirit, I got an issue. I need wisdom. And I'll wait for answers because he's not going to give it right there on the spot. He may or may not. But if he doesn't, can I wait for it? Because the answer that he gives me may not be for Monday. It may be for next year. But can I wait for it? Because if I get it now, he knows the pace of God, the pace of Jesus. He knows the plans for my life. So what I deem as time running out, or what I deem as it needs to happen now, he's not, I mean, you're 6 months ahead of time. Just wait for a second. I'll give it to you then.
Just wait for a second. I'll give it to you then. That's a powerful message, isn't it? Demons don't have patience. I think there might be something to that. Yeah. I'm going to keep that up because I'm going to use that later. And I'm going to work on a song about that. Yeah. Started you off with 3 songs this morning. I think I only got one of them posted, but I did 2 different versions that I put up. Personally, I like the country soul more so than the regular country version, but you may like the other version better. So I'm there are just times when I'm putting something together that I kind of can't get rid of both versions of it. They both came out good. It's just your personal listening uh, pleasure is based upon what you like to listen to. See, now let me tell you a little story. Ray Charles, you know, imagine being a white cop in Detroit and working at an arena for a concert, and you have no idea that the guy's voice that you've been listening to for a couple of years is a black man. What? What? Yeah. Ray Charles was one of them. The other one? Can anybody guess who the other black guy was that everybody thought was a white man until they saw him on TV? Can anybody think of him? I'll give you a hint. Is anybody going to San Antonio? Or Kalijah? Charlie Pride? Ring a bell? Yeah. Well, imagine being a young cop, right? Fresh out of the military, and you get hired to go and do side security for this event, and you have no idea. Okay. And at the same time that this is going on, riots are kicking off all over this new town that you just moved to. Okay. And you discover that the guy that you're protecting is a black guy. My dad was fucking livid. I will never forget that. I will never forget that. But it was Ray Charles. And it was, and the song that he had heard, and the only one that he knew of Ray Charles was I Can't Stop Loving You. Okay. And you know, so when Ray was brought up to the stage, he had no idea that Ray was Ray. He thought that he was just another member of the orchestra who was getting set up. And then the person that was guiding Ray, okay, had him by the elbow. Okay, Ray had him by the elbow. Okay, is walking him up to the microphone. Okay, now the thing is the sound man had stated that the only person who should be going to that microphone is Mr. Charles. Okay, now at this point here, okay, my dad still at this point had no idea that Ray Charles was a black man. Back then, when the doors of the event were closed, the posters were on the doors themselves. So when my father arrived, he arrived when the doors were open, and all the security guys were all filtering in and everything. So the guy is walking Mr. Charles up to the microphone, and my dad stepped up and said, "Hey, get away from that microphone. You don't belong up there. Get away from there." And the guy that was with Ray turned to my dad and said to him, I'll be back over as soon as I drop Mr. Charles off at the microphone. And my dad's face went pure white. And most of the orchestra people started chuckling. You know, this isn't the first time that this has happened for them. Okay. That because of the way the song is and the way that it was presented, it wasn't in what we call a classic black voice, right? Okay. Ray had a very, very, very unique voice and a very unique style. And my dad, not being around radio, not being around TV and stuff like that, he just didn't know. You know, now, was my dad racist? In some ways, yes. The riots pretty much turned a lot of cops that way, because these were guys who were working in those neighborhoods, helping those neighborhoods, doing good things in those neighborhoods. And then all of a sudden, the neighborhoods were burning down. They were burning down. People were getting beat up. And I'm saying white people were getting beat up. That had absolutely nothing to do with what the problems were. Okay. It wasn't their fault. They were just regular community people, your neighbor up the road, you know, your neighbor next door, you know, and they got hurt. They got hurt real bad, you know. And the thing is that it's so easy to mistake. We'll just leave it at the gate. That's where you're supposed to leave it. Sorry, message from Walmart telling me they're getting ready to drop off a couple of bags of dog food because I'm getting low, getting really low. And they don't need me there. They can leave it at the gate. You know, but my dad ended up carrying a lot of animosity because, you know, this atmosphere that was going on there in Detroit was going on for a period of time, and it went on for a period of time afterwards as well. You know, I mean, we even had people break into our house over on East Second Street. You know, and it was, you know, what's funny is somebody was in Detroit, and I was on prepping 101s, and I said, you know, I wonder if the house that I lived in is still there. And I said the address out loud. Well, somebody went by, and I ended up getting a text message that was on my older phone number when I used to give out my phone number. I got a text message that said, "Yep, the house is still there." And I was like, I always thought that street, because of where it was located right off of 11 Mile Road, that was going to end up being that it would end up turning into like a projects or you know, the apartment, you know, the apartment kind of places, you know, again, because of its location. There's a park just up the street, and 11 Mile Road is one block over. And yeah, it was it's memories. They come flooding back. But where I was going with this in conversation was, so when Dad came home, and it was a couple of days later, I ended up waking him up from a pretty sound sleep by putting a record on my little on my little record player, and it was Ray Charles. And my dad came in and he broke that record. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I was upset, you know. And my mom found out later on, and we tried to find a new 45, and we couldn't find it. It would take them a couple of weeks to get one in, and then this lady was listening to a record with headphones on, and she was just humming and singing along, and I asked her if I could hear, and she took the headphones off and handed it to me. She said, "Sure, boy." and she put them on my head, and I listened, and I was like, wow, listen to those voices, listen to those harmonies. And the name of that singer and band was Andre Crouch and the 12 Disciples. And it was all religious music, all, all soulful choir music, and with an awesome front man. And I brought that album home. I was so happy. It was the first 33 that I owned, was Andre Crouch and the 12 Disciples. And but I never played it when my dad was home. Never ever played it when my dad was home. Never ever 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 never ever. Nope, not gonna happen. So all right. So I want to get into the reposts because I did a lot of that over the last 2 days. I didn't come on yesterday. I actually jumped on Cola's last night. I was cooking dinner, so I didn't leave because of anybody doing anything. But it was chaotic on there last night. It was, and Carl, you need to adjust your microphone, young man. Yeah, you were so loud. Go back and listen to it. You'll hear what I'm talking about. And you drowned everybody out. So somebody's making a point or something, and you talk over the top of them. We don't get to hear what that person's saying. And saying this as a friend, because I love you, brother. You know that. But check your mic volume. Go into the settings and check and see where you're at. Because it was like your mic was on full blast while everybody else was on 3/4. So, and it takes away so much of the conversation. If you go back and watch what I'm talking about, you'll get it. But I love you. I absolutely love you. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna light this bowl in your honor right now. This bowl right here, the one. Oh, you can't see me. It's in my hand. It is. It's really in my hand. You don't need to see it to believe it. You just need to hear it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's get into my reposts. Yeah. Because these were things that I thought were kind of, fit the mode. Yeah. Yeah. So see, Script Keeper. We haven't seen much of Script lately. I haven't. He hasn't been popping up in my feed lately. I don't know why. The other one I haven't seen too is that girl. What's her name there? Oh, see, now I can't even think of it. This is just not right. This is just not right. That I can't think of this. What is her heck? The blonde-haired girl, Shipwreck. There you go. Thank you. Shipwreck. Yeah. Yeah. Haven't been seeing much of them on my feed lately. I'm not sure what's going on, but yeah. So they're definitely being throttled. As to people seeing your content that you're put up. And it's really, really annoying. No. I was thinking of Shipwreck. Remember the young blonde girl? She's a the stay-at-home mom. She always did a lot of great content. There were a couple of things we didn't agree upon, but for the most part, I'd say 80 to 85% of what she said I agreed with. Okay. Did I believe her for everything? Essentially, pretty much. Yeah, she was definitely in my 90 percentile list. for accuracy where news was concerned, and the heartbeat of America, how people were perceiving things and covering things. So she did a great job. And Script Keeper, I always, I love his stuff. So he does a great job. I just never get to see him when he's live because I'm always out and doing something. So we got one of his here. Let's go ahead and get this. He says, news is real quiet about this. Word on the street is that the Mexican Brotherhood has been eliminating ISIS members in Hollywood after 2 stabbings. Okay, I thought it was going to actually show something there, but it didn't. Yeah, it's kind of interesting though. Mexican Brotherhood eliminates another ISIS member in Hollywood just 40 minutes after stabbing 2 more ISIS and killing one in Los Angeles. We were told to watch for stuff like that, right? If I'm not mistaken, and it was 17 seconds long too. So that's that goes on top of that. So Donald Trump's got was asked about Flock, and I believe him when he says this.
There's a lot of debate right now about these license plate scanners that are going up across the country. They're called Flock cameras. People are worried that the police might misuse them. Have you heard of them?
Yep.
Or what's your stance?
Well, it's being studied right now. You have pros and cons, right? It's being studied right now. We'll have an answer sort of as to our views on it over the next couple of weeks.
I don't know. And then this is the other thing is the stories that are coming out talking about, all of it is, I kind of didn't want to get involved in the debate because I don't really know enough about Flock other than what we see on X or we see on Facebook and all that. I haven't done anything, but I do know this, that the owner of Flock, changes his car like 3 different times, after during transportation. He's constantly shifting vehicles and stuff. So that's kind of weird. It's like he wants everybody else surveilled, but he doesn't want to be surveilled himself. And can I see a positive purpose for Flock? Yeah, I can, but I've seen a lot of questionable things, like if a Flock camera is pointed at a park and is not showing a single street at all, why is Flock there? Just saying. Yeah. No, I know that, Clayton. I just have to watch the replay later on. I never get a chance to watch them live because I'm always outside with the dogs at that time or getting a project done. So yeah, that's all I was saying. So, but yeah, so we're going to see. He's got people looking into it and talking about it, and I think that based upon our Fifth Amendment rights, it is a big or Fourth Amendment rights, that it's definitely a big invasion of our privacy. In some ways, you're being tracked everywhere you go, and it's not like you're not getting tracked by your phone anyways. It's but when does the surveillance state stop? When does it stop? If we allow it to keep going, it's just going to keep going and going and going. And then eventually you might as well fucking move one of them in your house with you. Here, government, just why don't you take a bedroom? You pick. Right? I'm just saying. So Libs of TikTok says this is the same Democrat Republican who attempted to trespass into the ICE detention center to check up on arrested illegal aliens. This is the Democrat Party. It's Monday, and I'm back at the Royal Federal Building.
Hello? I'm gonna try now. Hi, this is Congressman Jimmy Gomez, and I represent downtown LA. Under federal law 11847, Title V, I have authorization and legal right to conduct an oversight investigation of this facility. Please answer. Hello?
Yeah. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. Yeah. So at the same time, Democrat Representative Jimmy Gomez is under investigation by House Ethics Committee following allegations of sexual misconduct. So basically, it's a criminal going in to check on other criminals. I got to make sure my buddies are all right. You know what I'm saying? You know, just saying. There's something to it. All right. And then we got this.
Earlier this month, federal prosecutors moved to strip citizenship from 25 naturalized Americans, accusing them of lying about their pasts and hiding serious crimes. It's called denaturalization, and the Justice Department now calls it one of its top priorities. Justice correspondent Ali Rogan looks at what's behind this dramatic shift in law enforcement strategy.
Since President Trump returned to office, the Justice Department has filed more denaturalization complaints than the Biden administration did during its entire 4 years. To help us understand why they're using this tool more, I'm joined by Cassandra Burke Robertson, a law professor at Case Western Reserve University. Cassandra, thank you so much for being here. I first want to ask you, how does the Trump administration's use of this tool differ from what we've seen from previous administrations over the past few decades?
I think that the Trump administration's use of denaturalization differs in a couple big ways. One of those is that the Trump administration is just filing many, many more cases. Another way that they are differing from previous administrations is that these statements put out by the Trump administration seem to suggest that denaturalization is an end goal all by itself, and that it's in fact part of the administration's immigration priorities. And then the third way that the administration has used it differently is that the administration has used denaturalization as a political tool. So the administration has talked very specifically about pursuing denaturalization against individuals that.
So in other words, what you're telling us, young lady, is that, he's following the letter of the law and your party doesn't. Is basically what you're telling us. Because, we're done with it. So PBS, go yourself. Okay? Go yourself. I said it. I said it. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. All right. And then we got this.
Trader Green, or some people call her Taylor Green. Some people call her Taylor Brown.
This is in 2025.
Because green sometimes turns to brown, which isn't nice. But I've watched her say that he spends too much time on foreign. Well, by doing that, and first of all, it doesn't take a lot of time. I made one trip. I brought back trillions of dollars on that one trip. I stopped in Japan. I stopped in South Korea. I met with President Xi and ended.
You went to the Middle East. I was on that trip with you.
Went to the Middle East. I brought back $3 trillion from the Middle East. I sold many Boeing airplanes on that trip, like 300. When I go on a trip, I only have one place in mind. It's the United States. So when, people with low IQs like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a low IQ person. When she says it's too, but she was a loyal person until I wasn't able to answer her phone calls because I'm just too busy to answer people's phone calls. You can't call me 3 times a day. And it's just, not appropriate when I have, over 200 congressmen, 53 senators, 212 countries, all of these people are calling, and a family. Actually, the family suffers. It's harder for me to call back the family. But when you think of what I've done, remember rare earth and the problem with magnets and all of these things that was going to shut down the whole world. I worked it out with President Xi. We have a good relationship. I worked it out with President Xi.
So
Very
that
favorable to the
does
United
come back
States.
to the
Oh, wait a
economy
minute,
here
wait
in
a
the
minute.
US, right?
You made a statement, though, that I devote too much time to outside of the United States.
Yeah. Well, so the Trump White House had just eviscerated ex-representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. So Marjorie was still in holding office at the time that interview took place. Okay, on Politico there. All right. So, but she's spreading fake news that President Trump's team is actively discussing nuking Iran. Okay. This girl's in fucking Mexico at some hoo-ha place, getting her hoo-ha fixed and getting her blood fixed and everything. Remember that? Remember she posted that we're here getting transfusions. Yeah, we're getting transfusions. Yeah, we're getting new blood. Yeah. So Marjorie Quitter Green has no idea what she's talking about. The former congresswoman disgracefully quit on her constituents during the middle of her term and wants to pretend like she has insight into the president's thinking. She is completely out of the loop and should quit spreading fake news. Yep. Just saying, just saying. And then we got this.
Fires today. And what we're watching at this hour, the radical Islamic regime claims it now has full control over the critical oil shipping waterway, the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, Iran held negotiations with another country, Oman, about possibly imposing fees for ships to travel through the strait. President Trump has said time and time again they do not control the strait, and he is warning Oman to not get involved. There will be serious consequences if Oman does. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. There are reports of more threats from Iran against President Trump and our American warriors in the region. Iran's military reportedly offering a $30,000 bounty for any Iranian citizen who captures or kills a U.S. service member. And a top Iranian lawmaker posted this: the president of the United States, instead of his endless bluffs regarding the Strait of Hormuz, should be thinking about securing his own safety so that he doesn't have to resort to fleeing to a food truck. A reference, obviously, to a secret plane switch in Turkey upon news of possible Iranian assassination plots.
Yeah. How about that? They are desperate. Jumping it back down, not at all. So, Autist the 17th says, Trump sent us a cue yesterday. Posted this about 3 hours ago. Where is Chris Wallace? Q told us back then Trump wanted you to see it. Take a look. So, we're going to go like this so that we can go like this, because that just makes it so much easier to see, right? It does. So, Donald J. Trump says, President Trump, during Shannon Bream's show, they showed pictures of the military complex ballroom site at the White House. Unfortunately, the pictures were months old before much work had been started. Now, the hardest work is substantially complete, with work on the roof, drone port, to begin very shortly. Why didn't Shannon Bream milquetoast to her friends? Show the updated pictures instead of ones that were so old and irrelevant. Her show, Fox News Sunday, is so biased against MAGA, Trump, and Republicans that it is ridiculous. Even Chris Wallace was better, and he was really bad. Where is Chris Wallace? Also, she, Brett B., and others should stop showing fake polls. They're just embarrassing themselves. It reminds me of the November 5th, 2024 presidential election just prior to winning in a landslide, including 7 out of 7 swing states and the popular vote, 86% of the counties, and electoral college, 312 to 226, President Donald J. Trump. So let's go over here. Myron Leon Wallace was an American broadcast journalist from May 9th, 1918 to April 7th of 2012. And this is Mike Wallace. So this is his dad. Known for his investigative journalism, he interviewed a wide range of prominent newsmakers during his 7-decade career. He was one of the original correspondents featured on CBS News magazine program 60 Minutes, which debuted in 1968. Wallace retired as a regular full-time correspondent in 2006, but still appeared occasionally on the series until 2008. He was the father of broadcast journalist Chris Wallace. Okay. But let's go on over to here. Oops, why didn't it stay there? So Chris Wallace looks clean as far as those descriptors used by Q are concerned, looking into Matthews now. And then you are not looking close enough. Q. What are we not looking close enough to? Oops. I'll go here to see if why aren't the comments coming out? That's weird. Well, all right, Homeland Security. What NBC News conveniently buried in this lying sob story is that the mother of these children is a criminal illegal alien arrested for larceny. Following her arrest by local law enforcement for the crime, Daisy Aladi Monos, Doran, whatever, was transferred to ICE custody, accepted a voluntary return, and was deported on August 26th of 2025. ICE does not separate families. Parents are asked if they want to be removed with their children, or ICE will place children with a safe person the parent designates. Okay, and that came after this story came out. 19-year-old in Texas has spent nearly a year raising her 13-year-old sister after their parents were detained by ICE and deported back to Honduras. ICE says it does not separate families and that parents can choose to be removed with their children or designate a safe person to care for them. So there's a whole article. And I agree, get the fuck out of my country. It's that simple. Dan Scavino put this up.
The Freedom 250 Grand Prix is now just a few weeks away. It's something that we've never seen before.
Here's the deal. I'm the best there is. Plain and simple. I mean, I wake up before I'm just excellent.
Freedom won't just ring this summer, it will also rev.
The historic course will showcase the country's most iconic buildings and monuments. There's a big, hairy American window machine. You ain't first, you're last.
Game's over. Never see it again. Why not? The Freedom 250 Grand.
Well, there you go. Actually, tennis, I'll be running over that. I'll be covering that in a couple of minutes. I have something in my feed about that that might interest you. Let's see. Breaking: the Plano News School Board in Texas voted unanimously to fire the elementary school principal, Jennifer King, after she reportedly failed to report sexual misconduct allegations brought against second grade teacher Paul Campbell. Campbell was arrested last month on child sex charges after multiple students accused him of inappropriate touching. School officials who failed to protect children need to be held accountable. Yeah.
Board of Trustees authorizes the district administration to issue the notice of proposed termination and non-renewal in the alternative to term contract employee Jennifer King. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. That's 7 hands up. That motion passes unanimously. Board of Trustees authorizes.
Yeah, it's that simple. Yep, it's that simple. So yeah, there's an interesting story behind that, Tennessee, and it's I do remember her. There were a couple of different things, times that she had talked about different types of abuse in Hollywood. But the one particular incident was when I believe she was overseas. And now they're also trying to say that maybe it was the jibber jabberwocky that did it, because her brother died of a heart attack 3 years ago. Because of the clot shot. So, so I thought this was pretty interesting.
We just published the largest real-world study on the ivermectin and methimazole for cancer. We had 200 cancer patients. We found 84.4% of them benefited in their cancer treatment. So half of them actually either their cancers disappeared reportedly and went away, no evidence of disease it's called, or the tumors shrank. It's called tumor regression. And again, that was about half. And then 36% the tumors stabilized, the cancer stabilized, it stopped spreading.
So, methimazole and ivermectin to the rescue. Now there's fenbendazole as well. So there's more than one. There's more than one. Okay. Mondami is I think he's going to get New York into a lot of shit. And I think that this is going to be kind of interesting.
And I'm wondering your take on Zoran Mondami and his government-run grocery stores. How's that going to work exactly? What's what's your angle on that? Is that something we're going to be seeing in blue cities all across America?
Benny, I think we know how it's going to work. It's not going to work. It's going to be a massive failure, a $70 million failure on the hands of New York taxpayers. One more tax that is the result of socialist big government policies. You think about, they want to have 5 grocery stores for $70 million, and they have a 44-page RFP out. And it's very clear from the proposal that they're looking for is they want some big company to come in and run it and crowd out the small businesses. And they're saying, not only do you have to crowd out the small businesses, but you have to drop your prices way below what small businesses are doing by 30%. And then on another 20 products, the staples that people need, you have to carry those at a low price. So Chicago tried this, 7 stores failed, cost Chicago taxpayers $15 million, failed quickly too, like 2 years. Small business and socialism cannot coexist.
So wait a second, this is news to me. So New York is asking for some giant corporation to come in and run their government-run store?
Well, if you read the RFP, it says you need to be adept at logistics and supply chain and negotiating contracts. And by the way, you've got like a month to get this 44-page RFP in. Now, I am blessed to be able to spend my time running across America from small business to small business. The last thing they have time for is some big socialist government bureaucracy to wade through and then take a risk on something where they're saying 5 of the sites, or I'm sorry, 3 of the 5 sites are known, 2 are not. So you're just gonna have to roll the dice and put a bunch of money and hire people and try to make this partnership, so-called partnership with the city, but we'll have our thumb on you the whole time. And I have been in grocery stores in the Bronx, and the city already has their thumb on hardworking small business owners that are scraping by to make ends meet to serve their communities. They are dictating their every move already.
They're going to destroy the bodegas. They're going to destroy all these little, I go to New York here and there, and it's all these little shops, all these little stores that kind of like made New York, and it's the culture, and they're going to be decimated by this. You won't be able to compete with the government undercutting and undermining small business.
Well, and that's right, because they come from the socialist mantra. It comes straight out of Karl Marx's playbook, A Communist Manifesto, to seize the means of production, and that we need to not allow property rights within the citizenry. And so they come from a perspective of ownership is bad, success must be punished, and that everyone who has will be taken from and be redistributing what they have to those who don't. Well, that only works for so long. It doesn't work at all, frankly, because you see what happens in Venezuela, Cuba. It's Soviet era stuff. And that's what the entire Democrat Party has now fallen in line behind when they give their endorsement to these so-called Democrat socialists, which they're just putting lipstick on a pig here when they say democratic socialists, because this is socialism.
Yep. Just saying, there's something to it. So Santa Serpent says Swamp wants the ballroom blueprint. The Swamp and their deranged leftist judges are only suing the military to get discovery for the blueprint of what is underneath the big, beautiful ballroom. Would the underground of the ballroom look like this? I think this is brilliant. TDS crying room right here. Yeah. There's the judge's bench. And this is the military courtroom. Witness and jury box. Yep. Clerk desk, counsel table. And then there's the holding tank for the suspects. And then there's the Trump viewing area, window overlooking the courtroom. And then you've got the popcorn room, because you got to have refreshments. I'm just saying. There you go. There's your floor plan right there. Okay. Let the man do his job. All right. Rapid response 47. That means it's coming out of the White House. Special envoy Jared Kushner. We haven't heard from him in quite a long time.
Today we had a very, very good meeting. We were there for almost 4 hours with him and his team going through all the different details. I think there were some valid concerns that they raised that we were able to address. And we were able to go through some of the misunderstandings and misinformation that's been out about it as well. I mean, certain things like we're very committed to the fact that we have a plan to rebuild Gaza, but we will not allow Gaza to be rebuilt until the demilitarization occurs. Nobody wants to put more money into a place that's gone on for so long until if it's just going to be taken over by terrorists or blown up again. We're also not going to restrict Israel's right to defend itself if there are any imminent threats. And so we had to clarify what that means. We could be seeing progress, as much as in as little as 30 days, hopefully on starting to take some of the weapons out and hopefully filling in some of the tunnels as well in the next 60 to 90 days as well. So progress could come quite soon, but we do need cooperation from both sides. And we're going to hopefully get through. But we've made a lot of progress to get here. For Israel, we think this is a win-win situation because if Hamas actually gives over the weapons and the tunnels, willingly over the next 60 to 90 days, that obviously would be the elimination of a huge security threat for Israel, almost an unthinkable achievement. And if they don't follow through now on their commitment, everyone will see that they're not genuine about peace, and then Israel will have a lot more support from the U.S. and others to go and finish the job in the appropriate way.
Just saying, there's something to this. He does look weird. Like way too much makeup. Yeah. All right, President Trump.
We have some of the people that Nathaniel and that work so much on the whole process with Nathaniel, and were with Ryder right from the beginning. And I guess you learned from these people. They taught you how to.
You know what? Hold on. Let me back up. I'm sorry. I should have gone here first. Apologies.
Ryder Williams, who is a 16-year-old lifeguard, California, the Santa Cruz area. And I understand he was a winner right from the time they first saw him as a lifeguard. A lot of training, a lot of work. And he saved this young gentleman who I had a long talk with, I said, would you have made it without him? And you said, not really, right? Not really. It was trouble. Yeah. So you're going to have a long and beautiful life. Thank you. And I just thought we were all watching, everybody watched, and got a lot of publicity because of the ferocity of the waves. I've never seen waves. I mean, that was sort of violent. We were just discussing, and at certain times of the year, mostly like right around now, the waves get very rough in that area, and they're swirling. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be tough. Or if you're small, if you're young. So I just want to congratulate Nathaniel Ray for coming through an ordeal. That means you're going to have good luck in life. You know, that's called good luck. I want to say hello to your father, and came along for we invited them to the Oval Office and to the White House. After this, if you'd like, we're going to have them brought up to the Lincoln bedroom where you see the room of Abraham Lincoln. That's pretty good, right? Yeah. And also your sister. It's really nice.
Yeah.
And it's an honor to be with Ryder Williams, who is
back to here. Actually, it played the whole clip, so I don't need to go there, do I? All right. And then we got this. Libs of TikTok put this one up. She says, holy shit, Kenesha Daly, special ed teacher at Madeira Unified in California, posted a video saying she's starting a black militia to rob some white people. Yeah, let's see.
Starting today, I'm starting a black militia. So if you're black, if you want to shoot some guns, come find me. We're going to rob some white people. And I see that people are fighting back against ICE, and I believe that is powerful. I know that people want a revolution. They want things to change, and I support that. So if you're calling for a revolution, I support that. But just look at history and know what could be at stake. Starting today, I'm starting a...
Yeah, you need some fucking mental health. Yeah. And then, so as one of his first actions as Attorney General, Todd Blanche finally finalized a federal regulation and launched a new process allowing eligible individuals who are prohibited from possessing firearms to apply for restoration of their federal firearm rights. The Second Amendment is not a second-class right, and the federal government should not permanently deprive Americans of a constitutional right without regard to whether they pose a danger to public safety, said Attorney General Todd Blanche. This rule establishes a rigorous common sense process that protects the public while giving deserving Americans a real path to restoration. Okay.
I'm Ed Martin, the United States Pardon Attorney. I'd like to share some news about the Department of Justice's plan to help citizens of our nation who have lost their federal firearms rights. We've recently published a rule that delivers on our promise to strengthen and protect the Second Amendment. To put that rule into effect, my team in the Pardon Office is hard at work to ensure that we can create and utilize an application process that balances public safety with the protection of your Second Amendment rights. Soon, we'll launch an online portal to accept all incoming applications. For those of you who are seeking relief, I know you're anxious to get started. And while you're waiting, I'd ask you to visit our website and find out more about what you'll need. That website is www.justice.gov/FFRR. There you'll learn about what you need to gather together and what you'll need to submit. We'll continue to update our website with all resources, new, old resources, and all the information you'll need to help assist you in getting relief. Please keep watching this space for more information. The launch date of the firearms restoration application, it's just around the corner, and I'm looking forward to providing relief to many worthy applicants.
Yeah. Interesting. So that means that non-violent crimes, have the opportunity to get their rights back. And I think that that's cool. All right. Also, bitch says Michael Jackson's sister tried to expose his killer. Whoopi Goldberg immediately shut her down. She said someone else was inside Michael's house the night he died. She claimed she knew exactly who it was. When the host asked her to name them, she started to go there, and Whoopi immediately shut it down. LaToya has long said her brother told her repeatedly, "They're going to kill me." The reason, according to her, well, I'll let him tell you.
People can't believe this really happened. LaToya Jackson was seconds away from naming who really benefited from Michael Jackson's death. Whoopi Goldberg shut her down on live TV.
I'm really intrigued because you say that there was somebody at this house and you know who it was. Can you say who it was?
No, I cannot say because there were other people in the house as well. Because I prefer not to at the moment, but I will say this. I would love to have a one-on-one with several people. One person I would love to have. I would love to have a one-on-one with probably.
I mean,
you say that because you think that you could.
This happened 15 years ago, so a lot of people don't know about it. Michael Jackson's older sister was openly saying he was assassinated.
When Michael first passed, right after that, the following morning, I was told the coroner came and he said that whoever did this intentionally. Michael had enough propofol in him, he said, to kill an elephant.
Wow.
Now, mind you, propofol, it just leaves your body immediately. With Michael, it didn't because he had a kidney and liver problem. So that made it stay into his system.
But you don't think it was Dr. Murray who did it?
Well, I think there was a conspiracy. Right? Absolutely, Elizabeth. It was a conspiracy, and a lot of people were involved in this, and they know who they are, and they're very afraid of what I might say, of what my brother has told me.
Was he used in your mind, Dr. Murray, I'm speaking of, as the sort of hitman in terms of this conspiracy?
I think, honestly, in my total belief is that Dr. Murray was just the fall guy simply because he knew what was going on, but I don't know to what extent. Okay. And I can't say. I wasn't there when my brother was murdered.
But doesn't it boil down to who actually administered the propofol?
Exactly. Right. Well, who actually injected it into him completely?
Which would be that would be the person who would be tried.
Somebody was in Michael's house outside of that doctor during that time. Now that I do know, and I know who that person was that was in his house.
And here's the thing. She even had a clear reason why someone would try to silence Michael.
Why do you think Michael was concerned about this? What were they after?
Well, first of all, he told me over and over and over. When he first told me, LaToya, they're going to kill me. I said, who, Michael? First, I thought you're Michael Jackson. Nobody in their right mind would ever think of doing anything like this to you. That's what you think. He says, no, but you don't understand. And then I saw how serious he was. He said, it's bigger than what you think. I said, well, Michael, what is it? He said, it's my publishing. They're after my publishing. They want to take it. As you guys know, my brother had one of the largest catalogs in the world, meaning music-wise.
The Beatles collection was one of them.
He owned the Beatles, yes. Yeah. There's an elevator music that you hear, just everything. Basically, a piece of every artist.
Yep. Just saying that there's a whole lot more to it than what people think. Yep. And then, so there's been a lot of speculation as to the food on the USS Abraham Lincoln. Let me tell you something. When they're on them ships, they are not eating MREs. They got real kitchens, they got real cooks, and they got real food. So if you grabbing a hot dog or a corn dog, it's because your time consumption is probably prioritized to how many texts you can get out, how many videos you can watch, or you got to pull extra duty because you're a fucking idiot. So somebody was complaining, so the NBC report in regards to that, if you believe that, you'll believe that my zipper can open and close itself regularly.
The CENTCOM commander visiting the USS Lincoln,
There were questions about morale and questions about how these sailors at sea for, what is it, 200 days plus and counting, I do believe. And now the USS Washington is going to leave Japan and head for the Persian Gulf and give it relief. General, how significant was that visit? And what's important, do you think, that we should understand?
Yeah, well, first of all, I did talk to Admiral Cooper. He had a great visit with the troops there. They feel good about what's happening here. I've never seen such misrepresentation in the media of the actual facts that took place. A soldier fell overboard and was rescued. They were claiming that multiple soldiers were committing suicide. Not soldiers, sailors. I don't want to insult the sailors by calling them soldiers. But the reality is the misrepresentation has really been quite significant. I mean, I understand people disagree with the war. I got that. It is, and those arguments should be made. But I'm glad Cooper went there. He wrote a great article in the Wall Street Journal op-ed that's worth reading to give you his assessment of what's took place. And it's insulting to these troops. I mean, they've been there for a long time, standing tall, representing the United States. And that's what they volunteered to do. And when they're doing something like that, they really feel good about the meaning and the purpose of what it's about, and their families are sacrificing as well. I mean, we should be very proud of them, wrapping our arms around them figuratively in terms of what they've accomplished. Well done. They're heading home to their families. It's good news.
Yeah. So, yeah, ships go out on rotation. That's just the way it goes. So, let's see. Where's the rest of
the CENTCOM
people can't
commander visiting?
Where in the hell is the rest of my feed at? All right, back channels.
We got an answer from the president about what is priority number one for the United States. Is it the nuclear weapon or getting the gas prices down? He responds to that on True Social.
Yeah, the president posted on True Social, and he was very clear that ensuring that Iran never has a nuclear weapon is the number one priority for the United States. I asked the president about the communication with the Iranians, and interestingly, President Trump confirmed to Fox News that there is a back channel with the IRGC. These are the hardline officials inside of Iran, and that the United States and officials in Washington are speaking directly with IRGC officials in Iran. This is another indication that the Trump administration is not just dealing with the political echelon in Tehran, but also some of these hardliners that have launched attacks against U.S. forces and, of course, in the Strait of Hormuz.
We got it.
Yeah. Back channels are important. Know your history and you will know why. Q. And then back channels are important when the news itself is untrustworthy, controlled in a kill box. Where we go one, we go all. Yep. So back channels are important. Know your history and you'll know why. What happened in the film Sum of All Fears? Who was communicating? Also, think Cuba Missile Crisis, JFK. Who did JFK communicate directly with? Russia. When Trump is doing with the proxy state of Iran is significant. And most people are so blinded by a temporary rise in gas. Iran is a captured nation to incite never-ending wars and boogeymen for profit, for control. Yeah, I'm not going to go through the whole thread.
In the USS Lincoln?
Can't believe this.
Why my feed is so damn empty. What the heck? How did that end up there? How did we get there? That isn't supposed to happen. Let's go here. Let's go here. Let's see how far we can get down. Yeah, now it's all there. Yeah, funny how that works, right? So, again, uranium-1 is going to enter the picture here. Okay, that's going to be a big thing that we really need to pay attention to. Okay, so, all right, you know what? Just because we need a quick safety meeting. I need a minute. I gotta stretch my legs. I'm starting to get a cramp in my leg, and I don't like that feeling. So we're going to have a quick safety meeting, and I will be right back with you.
What's right now? What's right now? You walk in the room with a smile on your face, but your mind's racing all over the place. Got 1,000 things running through your head, and you know you ought to slow it down instead. Well, don't just grab the first jar you see. There's a little bit of science to the THC. Take a minute, breathe, don't rush somehow. Ask yourself what's right now. Do you need to chill? Do you need some sleep? Do you need a relief that's nice and deep? Do you need a snack? Do you need a grin? Let's figure out where to begin. What's right now? What's your body say? Hey. Are you winding down at the end of the day? Hey. Northern Lights if you're ready for bed. Bubba Kush if your battery's dead. Dos when the aches hang around. Blue cheese if you're still moving around. Hey. Everybody's different somehow. So what's right now? Northern Lights says turn down the speed. Let your busy little brain be free. Tie an Afghani on a sleepy ride, like a warm blanket by your side. Then Bubba Kush walks through the door, says, buddy, you ain't working anymore. It's the melt into the couch parade. Cancel your chores that you already made. Need some comfort, need some peace. Need those busy thoughts to cease. Don't overthink, don't wear a frown. Listen when your body's talking now. What's right now? What's your body say? Hey. Are you winding down at the end of the day? Northern Lights if you're ready for bed. Bubba Kush if your battery's dead. Dos when the aches hang around. Blue cheese if you're still moving around. Hey. Everybody's different somehow. So what's right now? Dos says I got your back when your muscles start to crack. Blue cheese says grab a little bite, but still keep dancing through the night. Slow reaction, dry mouth too. Keep some water close to you if your heart starts racing fast. Take it easy, let it pass. Everybody's chemistry works a little differently. What's right now? Listen to yourself. Not every jar belongs on everybody's shelf. Some are sleepy, some are light, some are daytime, some are night. Hey. Take it slow and you'll find out how to choose what's right now. What's right now? Hey, hey, ask your body what's right now. Hey.
All right, I'm back with you. Yeah, I just, that was crazy. I had to run out and throw some gas in the generator because I forgot to fuel it up before I got started. Preoccupied. I've been very, very preoccupied today. Actually, I've been kind of preoccupied the last couple of days. My brain's just not all with it. I'm here, but I'm not here at the same time, if that makes any sense to you. I just got, it's got a lot on my mind, a lot on my plate. All right, Conservative Cowboy says, John Fetterman, you built a brand on saying the quiet part out loud. But votes matter more than sound bites. If your party keeps forcing you to choose between common sense and party discipline, then choose the people. Independents should speak louder than another reasonable interview followed by the same old vote. Okay, and he's responding to Gunther Eagleman's little AI video of John Fetterman. And it's John Fetterman has a problem. Every time he opens his mouth, he sounds more reasonable than half his party. But then the Senate vote comes and he falls right back in line. Motherfucker, you need to pick a side, okay? No more of this playing in the middle. Everybody has to choose. Everybody has to choose. Are you going to be on the side of good or are you going to be on the side of evil? Are you going to be on the side of Americans or communists? What's it going to be? Make up your mind. All right. And we know, put this one up.
American Warrior for Christ said, just so we are clear, Allah is Satan. The Quran is a manual for war and slavery. Islam is a false religion. Muhammad was a murderous demon-possessed pedo. Mosques are forwarded operating bases for global jihad. Stop bringing these people here. Deport all of the ones here while we still can. I've got a lot more to show you on this.
So you might want to look into the last couple of episodes of And We Know, because LT's got some sauce to go with that. All right. Let's hit a little Promethean action. Everybody.
American Warrior for Christ said,
have you been are we doing okay? Everybody okay? You breathing all right? Everybody there? Everybody? You okay? Are you okay? I mean, we just had a safety meeting, so you shouldn't have anything to complain about, except for that the safety meeting didn't last as long as you thought it would or wanted it to, or something like that. But I'm just saying. Are you okay? Are you okay? All right. Yeah. All right. Barbara Boyd, Promethean action. Here we go.
Have you been following the BBC New York Times story about U.S. sailors jumping off an aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf because the Navy is stressing them too much? Right now, you even have showboating Democrat congressmen demanding to come on board the carrier in an active war zone to inspect the conditions. But I think this story will prove to be a fatal mistake by the City of London and the Democrats trying to use the Iran war to destroy Donald Trump. Here's Afghanistan war veteran and double amputee Joey Jones responding on Saturday.
How weak are you on TV complaining about tuna and noodles? I'm sorry. You volunteered to serve your country. You can come back, get out of the military, and do like all of these Democrat veterans and complain about it and make commercials and be a sellout if you want to and come up with a new way of doing things. The last Democrat president that I remember that was deploying troops, Barack Obama, had the army going to Iraq on patrol bases for 15 months at a time, eating MREs.
Here's Secretary of the Navy Hung Cao with a similar response. Unfortunately, the media are trying to paint our warriors as victims. Not only is that dishonest, but it takes away the focus on the enemy and the threat it poses against our nation, people, and way of life. There is no question our young men and women have been pushed to their limits, but they have never broken. They are rightly tired, but they've never been out of the fight. However, it is clear, knowing the whole story, our force and their families are not victims. They're the epitome of American strength and resilience. I'm Barbara Boyd, and I've studied British psychological warfare and propaganda operation used in wars and color revolutions since the First World War. Today, we're looking at three parts of the same story. First, who the real enemy is in the Iran war. Second, the psychological tools the enemy is using right now. And third, how the USS Lincoln story will blow back hard on its creators. But first, hit the like button and share this video. It helps us grow the very knowledgeable audience we need right now if we're going to save the country. Here's Vice President Vance talking about the Iran war with Will Kane last Thursday.
We're using those tools very selectively, very strategically to get the outcome that the President of the United States needs to get for the benefit of the American people. And it really is twofold. It's ensuring that the Gulf countries continue to send oil and gas to the world economy so that we have energy price stability. That's obviously important for the American people. I know that oil is down today, and it's way down from the highs in the early days of the conflict. That's goal number one. Keep oil and gas cheap for Americans all over our country. And then obviously goal number 2 is ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. I feel confident we're accomplishing both of those goals, but it's inherently an unpredictable thing because the Iranians themselves are unpredictable and they sometimes don't honor the commitments they've made to us.
The press pounced immediately on that statement. They said Vance was, quote, moving the goalposts again in a war, quote, Trump chose without any plan that is killing Americans at the, quote, gas pump ahead of the midterms. That's the 4-beat sentence we've heard so often it almost seems like reality. And that's the goal of any good psychological warfare operation. Identify your opponent's pain points and wield words and images about them like a drone swarm, creating his demise without really firing a shot. But that's not what the president said in full context, and it's not the reality of the situation. Well prior to Operation Epic Fury, Iran had repeatedly threatened to close the strait. That vital choke point borders the country, and the Iranians have been aware of its warfare value since the 1979 revolution. In fact, during the Iran-Iraq War, the Iranians even mined the strait. White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro calculates what he calls the Iran terror risk oil and gas premium. He shows it adds $10 to $15 to every barrel of oil in normal times. That price spikes whenever direct terrorism by the IRGC or its proxies disrupts oil and gas production in the Gulf. So prior to this war, you have a terrorist nation telling the president's negotiators they have enough enriched uranium to make 11 nuclear bombs and set the Middle East on fire. That same terrorist nation also controlled the price of oil and natural gas here and could set off world economic chaos anytime they chose to close the strait. It is only a war of choice by Trump if Trump derangement syndrome, created by 10 years of psychological warfare by the enemies of our nation, has destroyed the ability to make rational judgments. The foreign control of the price of oil and gas is a product of the petrodollar financial system, which came into being after 1971. It rips off the American consumer in 2 ways. First, by insurance premiums and futures contracts setting the price of oil and gas from London. Second, by the Gulf countries and the IRGC depositing their profits in London's banks. Right now, Iran, London's tool in this energy blackmail game, is in economic collapse. Its nuclear and military capacities are destroyed. Its economic collapse is next, when Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent unleashes a monster wave of economic destruction scheduled for this week. If this is all new to you, subscribe to our free newsletter at PrometheanAction.com, and you'll learn a whole lot more about who really controls our economy at this point and what Trump is fighting against. The link is in the description. Now, back in 1953, the philosopher Bertrand Russell, a man deeply embedded in the British establishment, laid out the blueprint for the next century of British imperial control. He wrote this about mass psychology in his book, The Impact of Science on Society. This subject, he said, will make great strides when it is taken up by scientists under a scientific dictatorship. The social psychologists of the future will have a number of classes of school children on whom they will try different methods of producing an unshakable conviction that snow is black. Various results will soon be arrived at. First, that the influence of the home is obstructive. Second, that not much can be done unless indoctrination begins before the age of 10. Third, that verses set to music and repeatedly intoned are very effective. Fourth, that the opinion that snow is white must be held to show a morbid taste for eccentricity. Russell could have been describing what we're seeing in the communist and anarchist gangs now embraced by the Democrats. But he was describing an imperial transition from physical military conquest to psychological conquest. And the institution that picked up that torch and ran with it was the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations in London. In 1967, Tavistock's Fred Emery published a paper called The Next 30 Years in the journal Human Relations. He said modern societies were entering what he called turbulent field environments. That is, conditions so complex and fast-moving that former social stabilizers like the family and the church break down. He said populations would adapt to this by becoming passive. Three reactions would create the passivity: rejection of the larger nation they live in favor of smaller tribes based on racial and sexual identities and similar cultures; development of stoic emotional states to guard against the pain of possible failure; and finally, deliberate social isolation. Could you create these turbulent fields deliberately? Their use is obvious for warfare and social control. In 2000, two RAND Corporation strategists, John Arkilla and David Ronfeld, took that up in a document called Swarming and the Future of Conflict. They argued that warfare had evolved into what they called swarming, small, dispersed network units striking from every direction with no fixed front. They say explicitly that the clearest working model of a swarm isn't military at all. It's the activist NGO network. They name the Zapatista movement in Mexico and the anti-Milosevic street protests in Serbia as examples. In other words, the turbulent field Fred Emery described is exactly the field in which color revolutions now flourish. Small group mobs and focused media propaganda creating the turbulent fields. The targeted population, faced with massive social unrest engineered through the swarm, becomes passive and regresses to an infantile state in which their own satisfaction and survival are primary. NATO's cognitive warfare doctrine, introduced in 2021, takes that a step even further. It says the human mind is the sixth and most important domain of all warfare. Cognitive warfare's aim, get this, is to turn its targets into weapons its operators control, human weapons, while creating a controlled media environment limits the choices of an adversary. That is what has been deployed for 10 years against President Donald Trump. It is what the current State Department official Darren Beattie accurately describes as a color revolution. Journalist Richard Poe has thoroughly documented the origins of these color revolutions in the warfare techniques of British secret intelligence. But these techniques fall apart once the cause of the societal turbulence and anxiety is accurately identified, once it's clear to the victims that they've been played and reality is injected into the situation. Here's Stephen Miller doing a very good job of doing just that on Saturday.
This is a struggle for the survival of America. It's that serious. It's that real. What you talked about, abolishing police, abolishing borders, abolishing ICE, abolishing fossil fuels, gutting the Department of War. These actions collectively would bring America to its knees. It would cripple us. It would crush us. It would destroy everything 250 years of patriots fought, bled, and died for. To the people at home, everything that makes your life better, Donald Trump is delivering on and fighting for. Record tax relief, zero illegal immigration, the largest reduction in murder since 1900, the lowest violent crime rates that have ever been recorded, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, rebuilding the military, taking the fight to the drug cartels to keep fentanyl from killing our families and our children. Issue after issue, President Trump is fighting for our families, and what do? They want to hand over our nation to illegal aliens, criminals, jihadists, and communists.
Now, let's talk about the cognitive warrior's biggest mistake regarding the USS Lincoln. In attacking the mental toughness of our troops, they evoke something fundamental to American identity, and they simultaneously showed their own weak character and delusions about reality. Now, to me, the war in Iran is the ultimate just war. It is destroying the globalist petrodollar system that almost destroyed us under Barack Obama and Joe Biden, and clearing the way for a new Middle East built on advanced technologies and desalinization, not oil and gas for London's profit. You might disagree with me on that. The war has also stalled the dramatic drops in the inflation which Trump inherited from Joe Biden. But one thing no American would do, at least until now, is put out propaganda pieces portraying the men and women fighting this war as mentally unbalanced children complaining about food and laundry in a war zone, let alone the Democratic Party or mainstream media doing that. In effect, they say that those putting their lives on the line for us are overprivileged weenies. The Iranians, of course, immediately picked up on it, as anyone with a brain knew they would. A core American belief is that we are made to be strong and resilient in the most adverse conditions. The woke feminization of culture embraced by Joe Biden and Barack Obama says that belief is wrong. The weakness, victimhood, even criminality are virtuous. But that's beginning to produce popular revulsion against everything the Democrat Party touches, and it's the center of the USS Lincoln fake narrative. That's what makes the Lincoln narrative just a step too far for the Psy Warriors. It reveals both their own preferred mindset and the subservient culture they'd have us embrace. It's a mistake in playing with popular profiles equivalent to Hillary Clinton's use of the term deplorable to describe half of America. Once you see how the psychological warfare manuals work, you understand why staying on the internet or reading mainstream media produces such anxiety and passivity. They're designed to do just that. The turbulence, as they say, is the message. You will also see why the Trump administration has been careful to lay out the factual evidence about each step of the Psy war the population has experienced over the past decade. From Russiagate to Ukrainegate and impeachment to the George Floyd riots and the rigged 2020 election in January 6th, to the COVID mandates and censorship, to the war on MAGA and Trump himself after he left office. The president and his people have moved aggressively against the apparatus that ran the Psy war. Darren Beattie, for example, the man who accurately defined the operation against Trump as a color revolution when he was a journalist, now runs the Institute of Peace and the State Department's public diplomacy branch. Those things and the National Endowment for Democracy is where the color revolution's apparatus sat. Now, we just have to use what we've learned to massively destabilize them between now and the midterms. In addition to creating an election too big to rig, we might also free those victims of their Psy war who have yet to see the light. That may seem audacious, but so did wiping out the City of London's financial control in 20 months. And unlike the weenie Psy war guys, we Americans are actually strong and resilient. We need your help to help us grow. Please contribute as much as you can to make that happen. This has been your Monday update. I'll see you again on Thursday.
And that was Barbara Boyd with Promethean Action. Now, I gotta hit these. We only got a couple more before I get to one of the stories that I want to talk about. And then here we go.
Quiet. You're very disrespectful in front of this young man. Okay? Don't you find her disrespectful? He understands. Quiet. Who are you with?
I'm with CNN.
Fake news. You're fake news. You're a loud, boisterous person. You're fake news. Be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet. You're a fake reporter, and you report fake news. Go ahead.
Mr. President, is there
Quiet. You're very.
Yeah. People, it's coming down to this.
Why hasn't Kim Jong-un responded to your request to have a conversation?
How do you know he hasn't responded?
Has he?
Yeah, he has.
Did you speak to
Where are you in conversation?
And very positive. Well, just so you understand with South Korea, look, South Korea has been protected by us for many, many years. And during my first term, they agreed to pay close to $3 billion a year for protection because they essentially weren't paying. And I asked them to do that at my request. I said, not right. They weren't happy about it, but they agreed. I asked for $10 billion, and they were very unhappy. But we agreed for a short term that it would be $3 billion, and next year it would go up, and the next year it would go up. So they start paying for their protection. When the election was rigged, and I ended up watching for 4 years and then coming back, I watched Biden rescind that $3 billion a year for whatever reason. When I called recently the president of South Korea, who I like, I think he's very nice, actually. But I called him. I said, would you like to give us a little hand? We don't need help with Iran. But if you'd like, give us a hand with Iran. He said, no, thanks. And I said, wait a minute. We have 39,000 soldiers over there guarding you from Kim Jong-un, your next door neighbor, and you're not going to help us on a very easy military operation in Iran? That's strange. No, we'd rather not get involved. I say, well, why are we involved in helping you? So, and I want to help them, but when you ask somebody, would you like to give us a hand? And they say, no, thanks. And then we're guarding them from a country and paying ourselves billions of dollars. It's costing us billions and billions of dollars to protect not only them, but other countries. Look at NATO. We spend hundreds of billions of dollars protecting Europe from Russia. Hundreds of billions, mostly from Russia, but from other things too. And then they say, well, they don't want to get involved with guarding the strait where they get most of their oil. They get 50% of their oil, and they don't want to get involved. Why are we doing it? So all I want is fairness. And South Korea, I get along with them very well, but they were paying $3 billion a year. And then they convinced Biden that I was probably a bad person and they shouldn't. And he immediately rescinded that order. So we were getting paid. We would have been getting paid a lot more, but we can't go around and protect all of these countries, especially when they're not there to help us.
Yep, it is that simple. Old saying used to be, scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, and there's none of that going on, and I'm not going to waste my time on this one here. So what on earth? Charlotte, North Carolina police have not arrested the man seen on this camera beating a woman unconscious on a public bus. Security footage also shows that not a single person steps in to help her as she is repeatedly punched. We do not have to live like this.
We have edited this because it's actually quite graphic. That woman there is running from a man. Both of them get on this CATS bus in Northwest Charlotte, and we're going to pause it where he starts to punch and kick her until she loses consciousness.
Yes, that woman was actually trying to get away from that man, at least according to CATS officials. That's what they told us at the time when this happened back in April. And then followed under the bus. The two were apparently having an argument of some sort. It turned violent. And officers did say that the man punched and kicked the 25-year-old woman until she lost consciousness. What's important to note here is that they are still apparently, at least according to last check, they are still looking for the suspect in this case. And this was released to us just hours ago, even though this incident did happen back in April as part of a public records request that we sent to CATS, and also the fact too that the case is still, at least from what we've been able to figure out so far, the case is still open.
And I mean, I watched the full
So
video.
it's like, this kind of stuff is still going on. It's ridiculous. I want to hold off on this because I got a breakdown down below, but I will do this. The quick update was Hayden Panettiere. Police dispatch audio notates the actress allegedly suffered from an overdose, but was first categorized as cardiac arrest. Authorities say they found no signs of foul play or suspicious circumstances. Authorities were alerted to medical emergency by 911 call from a friend. The identity of the caller has not been shared publicly at this time. According to the outlet, first responders attempted to resuscitate using advanced cardiac life support. Overdose. What? Did you really think that they'd conclude they killed her?
Respond in place of medic 29, Easley Bridge Road, overdose. CPR is in progress.
Everyone, engine 2 respond for cardiac arrest. Justin Millwall, 701 Easley Bridge Road, apartment 701 Easley Bridge Road, apartment. Everyone, engine 2 respond for cardiac arrest. Justin Millwall, 701 Easley Bridge Road, apartment 701 Easley Bridge Road, apartment. Central 1, medic 29 responding.
Central 1.
That's wrong, Central 1. Medic call, Alpha 43, call Central 1. Copy 43.
Respond in place of...
I'm surprised any of them can understand what they're saying. Sometimes I think they do that shit on purpose, but let's scroll down here a little bit because I know I got more of that story and I want to stay on it. So here we go.
Is all of them. All of them. You write about a moment in your career where a friend of yours takes you onto a boat. You're led to a room which has an older man in it, and then basically told to perform sexual acts. And, you know.
Oh, yeah. Perspective completely shifted, and I realized that I was in danger. But by the time I'd realized I was in danger, I was quite literally out to sea. And it was that moment shook me and was shocking. And I was quite literally walked down, and I had been having a great time. There was no hints of anything like that happening. So it took me, I was shocked. It took me by surprise. And it was led by somebody that I had grown to trust and see as a protector and somebody who had my back. And to be walked down, down the stairs, and it was as like a surprise, presented as though it was like a surprise. And it was this very small room, and she physically put me in the bed next to this undressed man who was very famous, and had his hands like this, like this was just an average day for him. This is something that happens all the time. And I waited for her to leave. And I mean, that line in me, that fire in me, that my hair stood on end, and I became ferocious. I was like, this is not happening. But I had nowhere to hide. And I bolted, and I hid wherever I could think of to hide on a boat. There was no jumping off and swimming away, and there was nobody who was going to. I realized that there was nobody who was going to be empathetic to my situation, that this was nothing new to them.
And you have to ask yourself, how often does this happen? How often? And the fact that it was somebody that she trusted that brought her into that environment is crazy, It is all of them. All of them. And not one will be able to escape.
What is true is we had some good parties at the White House.
Yeah, little girl is her daddy home.
Public place, you did it.
The best.
Okay, the best. Probably the Obama thing.
John.
These incestuous relationships with Anthony Fauci that go back 20 years, where he's paying Fauci, and they have all kinds of really corrupt financial entanglements with each other. He brought Fauci to the house.
I'll go. I never had COVID.
Just all of them. All of them.
That was a good put together. Because if you were just watching the visuals, you could totally get 100% of where this is at. And the thing is I actually liked her as an actress. Heroes. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Heroes. Let's see, Heroes TV series. Let's see. Let's go over it. Let's just go to IMDb. Okay. Here's a trailer for it.
I'm here to save you. Heroes on Blu-ray and DVD. They will accept us or they will fear us. Maybe you have to remember who you were to figure out who you want to be.
New power.
Ask your father about it.
You're dead!
Heroes Season 4 on Blu-ray and DVD.
Okay, so if you've never seen this series, and I'm also going to say this, okay, when I finish this podcast today, I will be beginning season 1 of Heroes all over again. Because, you know, the fact that these things are going on, everything always leads to, there's always connecting dots. Always connecting dots. Yeah, it's sometimes you got to revisit for, you know, look back at films and look back at or listen back to an album or, you know, or a TV show or, you know, whatever that somehow gave you a bunch of messages and you just didn't know it then. And Heroes kind of made me think that, you know, maybe we're not all we're supposed to be. Something was taken away from us. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm just saying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here because there's a few down here that I want to hit before I finish up today. And let's see. That is definitely one of them, by the way. That is one that I definitely want to get to. Let's see. Is this the one? Okay, so do you realize how much food that is for a private party? How much pizza and hot dogs can $65,000 get? Okay, pizza at $15 is about 4,333 pizzas. Hot dogs at $2 is about 26,000 hot dogs. Do you realize how much food that is for a private party? Or have you figured out that they didn't fly pizza and hot dogs on an airplane to the White House? Okay. And here we go. Fred Burton to Don Kuykendall, whatever. I have no idea to say. All right. But the subject regarding get ready for Chicago Hot Dog Friday. I think Obama spent about $65,000 of taxpayers' money flying in pizzas and hot dogs from Chicago for a private party at the White House not long ago. Assume we are using the same channels. Yeah. To celebrate all you hot dogs out there, Eric, you can participate as well. Yeah. Seems kind of funny. Just saying, there's something to it. And then, okay, I want to. All right. Okay. Because I'm looking at time now, so I want to make sure I hit these.
I don't know why mermaids want to pop out all of a sudden. I don't know why they revealing themselves like this, but they got surveillance footage of this mermaid at this house. So as you can see, the pool to this house is connected to the oceans. Niggas don't know how to make their pool be the ocean at the same time. When they say I'd rather have rich problems, same one of the rich problems I'd rather fucking have. Here's an actual photo of the mermaid. First of all, that shit longer than Christmas break. They did not say them bitches was that long. Y'all, is this bitch really sitting here playing in our face, being half human, half fucking fish right in front of us? This is what it looked like when they enhanced the photo. Y'all see that bitch? And when I showed y'all what I showed y'all in the book of Enoch, y'all was like, I can't believe you believe in that fantasy book. Somebody's surveillance cameras caught this shit, and y'all steady want to holler about fantasy. This shit ain't no fantasy. But see, I know y'all tough, but see me, I catch a mermaid swimming in my motherfucking ocean pool. She can have the whole house. You got it, little mermaid. I ain't even know you even knew where I stayed at. Matter of fact, this is where you stay at now. Because now I'm scared of the bitch. And I don't even know if y'all are friendly. I don't got no problems with y'all. I used to talk to a girl with a long ass booty before, and get what? I treated her just like I treated everybody else. But yeah, y'all think this shit AI and they just fucking with us, or we probably need to find us another world to live on.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we should just find us another world to live on. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The mothers of the Nephilim. Yep. Let's see. And then this. Remember, we stopped watching this guy a while back because there was something off about him.
I never really liked Harry, the soul coach. There's always something about him that just wasn't right. Just didn't sit right with me. Like how he knew everything, and he really doesn't. And like how he said the good people were bad people and the bad people were good people. It's like with all the bullies on here. I mean, all they do is spread fear, cause distraction, psyops. But I think they were all supposed to be exposed, and exposure is happening. And I think that they were supposed to be taken out and exposed for what they really are. And all the genuine ones that really spoke the truth were the real ones, were the real deal. But it's all about exposure. But just don't buy into any of it. Just keep on going with what you believe in, what you've learned, and let them keep being exposed. Because what's supposed to happen? Bye, Harry.
Yep. If it happens, it's because it was supposed to. Mystery illness. Ha ha ha. Down she will go. You can run for a long time. You can run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. But sooner or later, gotta cut you down. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down. Yep, Dolly Parton cancels public appearance at the last minute amid ongoing mystery health issue. Yeah, I don't think so. All right. And then this one.
Millions are beginning to notice this enormous serpent between South America and Antarctica. Many are calling it Leviathan, but look closely. Before the serpent is a woman in travail. She sits in an African birthing chair, her garment lifted, her legs positioned, as though she is about to give birth. She wears a crown of 12 stars, and she has been given 2 wings of a great eagle. This is the sign described in Revelation chapter 12. The serpent stood before the woman, ready to devour her child as soon as he was born. Do you have eyes to see? To help strengthen your faith, God has woven witnesses into the names of the lands themselves. Beside the woman's face are the Virgin Islands. Islands named centuries ago. Yet here, within the complete image, the name points us back to the Virgin Mary and the birth of Christ. Around the woman's head, the brilliant shallow waters of the Bahamas shine from space. The 12 main islands of the Bahamas make up the 12 stars of her crown. Her face is shown only in profile, only part of the face. And in the Dominican Republic is a place called Media Cara, meaning half a face. Above her are the wings of a great eagle, and in that northern region, white-tailed eagles with the largest wingspan of all eagles build their nests among Greenland's steep cliffs. Now, look again at the serpent. Its head rises near the South Sandwich and Central Islands, and near its snout the names of places speak of its breath. There we find Demon Point, Mount Asphyxia, Reek Point, Stench Point, and Fume Point. God ensured the land itself, described the poisonous breath coming from the serpent's nostrils. And the serpent is located in the Drake Passage, a name that also carries the ancient meaning of a dragon. Many saw Leviathan, but they missed the woman. They missed the wings, they missed the crown, they missed the birth, they missed God! This is not Leviathan. It's Revelation 12 written on the face of the earth. God wrote the biblical account across his creation. Look closely. The unveiling has begun. Faith Map News.
Yeah, interesting, huh? Interesting. So, this is one of the things that I wanted to show you.
Hi, Greg Esselbacon here with Veterans for America First. I am with Caroline Levitt, who is running for Congress in New Hampshire's 1st District. Caroline used to work in the Trump White House, and now she's taking the fight to her own community, and she's running for Congress. And here at Veterans for America First, we'd like to offer our complete, full endorsement to Ms. Levitt and wishing her the best of luck in her journey to Congress.
Wonderful. And I would like to thank this exceptional organization for their endorsement and support of my campaign. I am proud to have the support of so many veterans across New Hampshire. It is my utmost priority to ensure that they have the resources and the care that they need, as my former boss, President Trump, did in the White House as well. I'm also proud to be endorsed by Representative Al Baldessaro of New Hampshire. He was the chair of President Trump's National Coalition for Veterans in the 2016 and 2020 presidential campaigns. It's an honor. Thank you. God bless you. God bless everyone who has served our country. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, she wasn't just going home to take care of the kids. She was going home to fight for her country, is what she was doing. She was on one battlefield first, and now she'll be on one a little closer to home. Alan Bean. Do you remember Alan Bean? Alan Bean. He was one of the guys that was on the moon landing, right?
My name is Alan Bean.
I swear to God and affirm.
I swear to God and affirm.
Under penalty of perjury.
Under penalty of perjury.
Treason.
Treason. No, not treason. Treason has nothing to do with it.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here.
Let me rephrase this and say, I've got my hand on the Bible.
You won't say under penalty of treason.
What's treason?
That's doing something fraudulent to the taxpayers.
That's crap. Treason is when you sell out your country.
Well, if you use the $135 billion to not go to the moon.
That's still not treason.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Treason is if you tell secrets to another country.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
$135 billion to not go to the moon. He didn't deny that he didn't go to the moon. He just denied that it was treason to tell the taxpayer that they went to the moon. Yeah. All right. And then funny games until the meteor breaks apart and all the pieces start navigating on their own.
Look at that shit, dog. Sabrina, hurry, come. Holy shit, dog. It's a fucking meteor. It's a fucking meteor, dog. Holy shit, where'd it go? Oh my god.
You just gave me a heart
Oh
attack,
my
dude.
god, that was fucking sick. Dog, that's aliens. That's alien.
What the fuck is that?
That's aliens coming to the fucking Tyler.
What? What the
Tyler.
fuck is that?
Tyler.
What the fuck is
Tyler.
that?
What the fuck is going on?
They're going sideways.
They're going sideways. They ain't even following no more. Hey, look at this green dot on my camera, Tyler. Look at the green dot.
What the fuck?
Look at the green dot.
I see it.
Tyler, what the fuck is going on? They're standing there. They're hovering there. Look, they're red. They're red. They're red. They're red. They're red.
What the fuck, dude?
I got that
Those
shit on
ain't
video.
meteors, bro. Look,
No,
that one's flying sideways.
Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. Tyler. Holy shit. What is going on right now?
What the
Oh my
fuck?
god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
They're zigzagging.
Yeah,
across
dude,
the
what
sky.
the fuck?
I wish I had shoes on. I would go see that.
Tyler, these things are flying,
What
bro.
the fuck is that in the sky? It's flying.
Look, that one just appeared out of nowhere. Go late, pink, right here.
Dude, look at the fucking formation, bro.
She's inside.
Oh man, now it looks like an alien one.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Here we go. This is let's see. Dang nabbit. What is his name? I'm just going to share the story. He'll tell us his name. All right, let's check this out.
You're not going to believe this. The United States has been buying Greenland since January, quietly, politely, with meetings. Okay. And this week, the guy buying it flew to Turkey and blew the entire deal up on live television, set it on fire, his own closing on purpose in front of witnesses. And I'm going to tell you why he did it. I'm going to give you the stock that goes with it, name, ticker, everything right here, free of charge, because apparently I'm the only person in media who thinks you should actually know things. But first, you got to understand how empires work, folks, because nobody teaches this on school on purpose. Nobody even announces an empire. Ever notice that? There's no press release, no ribbon cutting, no guy with giant scissors. And you know what you get instead? Paperwork. All right. An empire is a mugging that hired a lawyer. That's all it is. Same mugging, better vocabulary. Because a real empire never says it wants your stuff. Never. That's amateur hour. That's a guy in a ski mask. No. A real empire says it's concerned. Oh, it's very concerned. It has legitimate security interests. It's not taking your island. It's protecting your island from the terrible possibility that somebody else might take your island, which it happens to be standing on right now, holding a memo. That's what languages war is for, folks. And I've been telling you this for years. Language isn't telling you things. It's keeping you from noticing things. Watch how it works. You take a big, ugly word like annexation. Annexation. That word comes with tanks. That word has a body count. You feed it into the machine and out comes strategic partnership. Same act, same island, same 56,000 people who didn't get a vote on this. And now it got a nice haircut and it went to Georgetown. Okay, here's the story. I'm Charlie Garcia. This is Capital Mischief. 185 days ago, a woman tweets a word, all caps, soon. Who cares, right? It's a tweet. Except this woman is married to the guy who writes the actual policy in the White House. So that's not a citizen posting from her couch. That's a trial balloon with a wedding wing on it. And everybody laughed. I laughed. I also started counting the days. And this week, day 185, the phone rang 3 times and every call was worse than the silent. Call number 1, a Ukrainian newspaper reports the United States has found justification for acquiring Greenland. Found, not considered, not explored, found. Like your car keys, they were there the whole time, folks. Somebody finally checked under the couch and found them. And then the memo grew a voice. A senior official on the record into a microphone says the only solution we have found is the United States acquiring Greenland. The only solution. You know what else gets described as the only solution? Everything that ends badly. No one in history ever said the only solution and then everybody went out for pancakes. Never. And here's the part that really should scare you. In January, wanting Greenland was one man's personality, one guy's thing, like a hobby. Some guys collect stamps. Now, it's a filing system. There's a memo. There's talking points. There's a cleared official saying acquiring Greenland in the tone of a man refinancing his garage. The bluff got nationalized, folks, and that matters because a man can get bored. A bureaucracy can never get bored. A bureaucracy can only lose funding, and of course that never happens. And nobody is cutting this budget line. Call number 2, NATO summit, Turkey, day 1. The president sits next down to Erdogan, cameras rolling, and says Greenland should be controlled by the United States. And then, same breath, no comma, we should remove all our soldiers from Europe. The island and the withdrawal wedded together, one sentence. Now think about how weird that is. Every empire in history threatened to show up. This one threatens to leave. That's brand new, folks. That's innovation. We finally found something America still manufactures. Menace. Threats. So call number 3 never rang at all, which was the whole point. Denmark has thrown the biggest 4th of July party outside of America every single year since 1912. 2 world wars, a pandemic, didn't matter. 114 years of Danes standing in a field singing Springsteen back at us, which, by the way, is adorable. This year, our 250th birthday, they took the American officials off the guest list. No speech, no statement. Somebody just crossed off some names off a spreadsheet and let the spreadsheet do the talking. And in the deal business, that is the softest possible no. And the softest no is the best no because it means the other side is too embarrassed to say the hard one. Embarrassed sellers close on Tuesday, folks. Write that down. Now, quick. A man demanded an island on camera at a NATO summit this week, and the entire American press corps decided the story was the seating chart. The seating chart. That's why you're hearing this from me. So hit subscribe on this channel right now and go subscribe to Capital Mischief on Substack, link below. Free gets you smarter at dinner. Paid gets you smarter at your brokerage account. Your call. I know which one pays for dinner. All right. Now the part nobody is covering. While all that theater was going on, the actual deal has been closing since January. There's a working group, America, Denmark, Greenland, no shit, in a room every month. Denmark's foreign minister says he expects a solution by the end of the year. Our Secretary of State, Rubio, told Congress the talks are, quote, in a good place. Monthly meetings, a deadline, a good place. Folks, that is a deal in escrow. They're picking out curtains. So now I ask the only question that matters. If your deal is already closing, why fly to Turkey and blow it up on camera? Because the explosion isn't for the deal. The deal didn't need it. The explosion is for everybody else. This is Donald Trump. It's the oldest move in real estate. You blow up the terms at the final walkthrough, not to kill the deal, to make the other side grateful, weepingly grateful to sign the original terms. Whatever Denmark thought it was giving up last month just became the reasonable option. And by Thursday, base expansion and mineral rights will feel like Copenhagen's idea. They'll think they won. He doesn't want the island, folks. He never wanted the island. He wants a deal that's already closing to look like a conquest instead of a contract. The difference isn't terms, it's the noise. And the noise is the product. Meanwhile, Denmark, oh, Denmark, chess players have a word for Denmark's situation. Sugswang. It's German, so you know it's bad. It means every legal move you have makes your position worse. You're not in check. It's worse than check. You are personally in charge of your own slow death. Watch. Denmark tried move one. Gets Greenland its own Olympic team. Sovereignty laundering in a track suit. Honestly, clever. The Olympic Committee says no. Teams have to represent recognized independent states. So a Swiss sports bureaucracy just ruled that Greenland is exactly as Danish as Washington's memo needs it to be. Congratulations. You played yourself in biathlon. Move 2 shows up by invitation. China's foreign minister tours Scandinavia. First visit to Denmark in 15 years. Meets the king, and then I swear this happened. He rides the rides at Tivoli Gardens with Denmark's foreign minister. The foreign minister of the People's Republic of China at an amusement park 4 days before a NATO summit where America demands his host's territory. I don't know which ride they went on. I think it was the one that goes in circles for symbolism. And in the official Chinese statement, one sentence written by a lawyer, China supports Denmark in safeguarding its territorial integrity. Beijing just offered Copenhagen in writing the exact sentence Washington commissioned an entire memo to avoid saying. Let that sink in. The communists are quoting the UN Charter, and we've got a guy with a PDF. And Denmark can't take the offer, can't even lean towards it, because the second Denmark leans 1 inch towards China, it proves Washington's whole case, which is that Denmark can't keep Greenland away from China. The defense against the accusation is the thing that makes the accusation stick. Every move loses. That's suckswang, folks. And when your opponent's in suckswang, you don't talk, you wait. Waiting is the move. China's really good at waiting. They've been waiting for 1,000 years. We can't wait for a frickin' microwave. Now, 4 days, get a pen. This is the informative part. July 20, that's basically in like 11 days, the new tariffs self-destruct at 150 days unless Congress votes to keep them. A recorded vote, names attached, 4 months before the midterms. Congress has spent 18 months at the beach on this, but in 12 days, the beach gets repossessed. November 10, China's rare earth expert weapon comes off suspension, and it can snap back with no notice. Every iPhone, every jet fighter, every MRI machine, and Beijing's been warming up, arresting engineers, detaining a CEO for calling germanium lenses ordinary glass, and my personal favorite, they opened a hotline where citizens can report suspected mineral smugglers. A snitch line for rocks. Think about that. We can't get people to use a turn signal in the United States, and China has civilians ratting each other out over dysprosium. January 1, new Pentagon rule. 0 Chinese rare earths in the defense supply chain. 0. Meanwhile, Greenland's mines are 10 years from shipping a single rock. Those numbers don't meet, folks. They were never going to meet, and that is why the memo exists. Then, December 31st, the quiet one, the working group's own deadline, least covered, most binding. That's the one where the fancy partnership gets a name, which brings us to the money. Because here's what the market is doing while all four clocks tick. It prices the minerals by the hour. MP Materials fell 13% in June on a Chinese blacklist. But annexation demands at a NATO summit, troop withdrawal threats, background radio, one war priced hourly, one war priced never. The gap is the trade, and the name is Linus Rare Earth. LYC in Sydney, LYSCF over the counter here. For 30 years, the West decided mining was dirty and refining was somebody else's problem, and that somebody else should be a one-party state with a long memory and a short temper. Great plan, fellas. Then everybody checked the periodic table and discovered the missiles, the wind turbines, the iPhone you use to complain about wind turbines, all run on 17 elements China quietly cornered. Out of that panic walks Linus, the only producer of separated heavy rare earths outside of China, the only one on Earth, profit up 13-fold in 6 months. It charges a 15 to 20% premium for the crime of not being Chinese. Virtue has a spot price now, folks, and it's sitting on $1 billion in cash, plus Pentagon money. And when your customer wears a uniform and prints the currency, your downside comes with a mattress under it. And Monday, it dropped 6% on Malaysian environmental noise. Nothing to do with any of this. The mispriced war went on sale. But hear me. It's one company strapped to one commodity price that got cut in half in China and came back inside of 3 years, and the CEO just handed over the wheel. So own it as an anchor, not a lottery ticket. Buy the shovel makers, never buy the ice. How am I sizing it? The second position, Washington cannot let fail, and the full risk sheet. That's on Substack. Capital Mischief, $2 a day, and the people who pay for it are never the ones surprised by the news. Subscribe to this channel too, because the first clock goes off in 11 days, and I'll be sitting right here. One last thing, no jokes. 56,000 people live on that island, Greenland, and they weren't in the room for any of this. Not the tweet, not the memo, not the working group. This week, their foreign minister posted one sentence, no lawyer, no footnotes, no snitch line. Greenland's future is up to its people. That's how it has always been, and that's how it will always be. I've read all the paperwork, folks. That's the only sentence in the whole file I'd bet on being true in 50 years. She said soon. She was right. She just never said whose calendar she was reading. There are 4 of them now, and the man with the loudest one still doesn't want the island. His government now does. And governments, unlike men, never, ever change the subject. May the mischief be with you. I'm Charlie Garcia.
Charlie Garcia, that's his name. Yeah. And then there was yeah, the rest of that will have to wait until tomorrow. I need to keep that. And I want to go back to here for, I believe it is this side. Yep, here we go. All right, this is real news in history with Mike King. All right, let's go here.
Hi, Mike King, realnewsinhistory.com. And today's episode is titled The Jewish Media Bosses Behind U.S. Entry into World War II. And the entirety of this presentation, by the way, you can also find in my book, The Bad War, The Truth Never Taught About World War II, which was once a bestseller on Amazon. It was holocausted in 2017. You can still get it at realnewsandhistory.com. Go to the books and PDF section. You can get it in physical format, this beautiful coffee table book. It's also part of the PDF package, all 36 of my books for just $29. You'll see all of that stuff linked in the description box below. And then, of course, there's a companion piece, The Song That Never Ends, Debunking the Holo-Hoax. They go together. So if you go to realnewsandhistory.com, you see a WW2 tab. You could have one or both of those books or the PDF package. So this is just one amazing excerpt out of so many facts that are contained in that 337-page, richly illustrated booklet. And this deals specifically with the state of the American news media leading up to World War II. Okay, unbeknownst to the American public, well, there are a few people who knew what was going on, like Charles Lindbergh, for example. The major Jewish media was already under Jewish dominance, or at least the majors were, and they were using that power to begin the process of preparing the public for entering the war. Kind of like the contemporary times, is it? Nothing changes, But let's have a look at some of these characters who shaped history from the shadows, so to speak. And I'll begin my article here. By the way, you can get all of these ahead of time at my website. You know, you subscribe to realnewsandhistory.com. At the New York Times, you'll get these articles days in advance. Let us begin. If it can be said, as I have coined and long maintained, that, quote, fake history is the fake news that has passed into the rearview mirror, then only a proper exposure of the identities and motives of fake news patriarchs from years gone by can allow us to correct fake history and thus better understand the present. Believe me when I say the fake news that anybody who's got a pulse today or a few brain cells understands is fake today. This is not a phenomenon that started in the Trump era or 20 years ago, 30 years ago after 9/11. It's going on a long time. So you ought to have no trouble believing. If you believe the news is fake today, why not consider the fact that it was fake in the 40s and the 30s and even the 20s and beyond that? It absolutely was fake, especially during the build-up to World War II. And then with the passage of time, that fake news becomes a fake history that they taught you in school, if they taught any history at all, that is. Okay. It is essential to identify the original myth makers behind the official narrative of the Good War, because, as I have also coined and long maintained, quote, World War II is the foundational mythology which defines the modern world. So today, I'm going to name some names so you can understand who it was that bamboozled you and our previous generation so badly. First, let us note that a full 6.5 years before the grand and tragic history-altering event that was World War II, the leaders of international Jewry formally issued a declaration of war against Germany and its new chancellor, Adolf Hitler. On March 23rd, 1933, 20,000 Jews protested at New York City Hall. Rallies and boycotts were directed against German goods. The front page of the March 24th London Daily Express carried the headline, quote, old big bold letters, Judea declares war on Germany. I'm going to show you that in a moment. So this is Hitler's only in power like a matter of weeks. He hasn't done anything yet, and already they're targeting him. Why? Because his intention was to take away all the favorite toys of the Jewish cabal in Germany. Control of the press, control of the universities, control of the theaters, control of the parliament. No, that's for Germans. That's why they declared war. He wasn't harming or killing anybody. Okay.
Now, one of the things I want you to do is I want you to compare What's going on today with the story that he's telling you?
Okay, 3 days after that headline appeared in the London Daily Express, Judea declares war on Germany. 40,000 Jews and other assorted communists. And by the way, there's a lot of overlap between those two groups, Jews and communists, just saying, gathered in Madison Square Garden to protest Hitler, who hadn't even done anything to harm anybody, except maybe a few red terrorists who had it coming to them. The New York Daily News front page blared, quote, 40,000 roar protest here against Hitler. 40,000 angry Jews and communists. This is 9 years before Pearl Harbor. Worldwide Jewry had fired the opening economic and propaganda shots of what, in due time, would escalate into World War II. Hitler responded to the false atrocity charges being made against the New Germany, stating on March 28, 1933, quote, lies and slander of positively hair-raising perversity are being launched against Germany. Horror stories of dismembered Jewish corpses, gouged out eyes, and hacked off hands are circulating for the purpose of defaming the German folk in the world for the second time, just as they had succeeded in doing once before in 1914. Outrageous stories, atrocity propaganda. And this is setting the precedent for the Holocaust, which comes many years later on. It's projection. It's pure projection. Because this is what the Jewish Bolsheviks, the Soviet Union, used to do to people. Gouged their eyes out, hacked their hand. Now they're saying Hitler's doing this. He's only in power a few weeks. None of this is true. And nobody even believed it at the time. Some people believed it. But right from day one, they started with the ridiculous atrocity propaganda against Hitler. It was so bad that even normies by and large, didn't believe any of it back in 33, 34, 35. All right, continue. Had the Jews been some powerless minority with very little influence, then their declared war against Germany could be dismissed as the inconsequential barking of a dog at the moon. But with the most powerful political weapon ever known to man, that being the national news media of the United States, being mainly under their dominance, their threats against Germany were not to be taken lightly. A closer look at the big four of America's media at the time should be enough to induce even the dimmest normie on this subject to begin asking himself, could we have been lied to about Hitler and World War II? Well, duh. Now, let's have a look at the main media masters of the 1930s and 40s who were engineering this gradual hate campaign and build up towards another world war. Okay, but first let's look at some images. Here's a poster. Jewish organizations putting up posters all over New York. This is how they used to communicate back then. It was very common, big posters, propaganda posters, like in public areas. For humanity's sake, boycott German industry. Do not buy German goods. That's 1933. Okay, so Hitler comes into power. Over 30% unemployment. Okay, Germans are starving. Situation can't possibly get any worse. He hasn't done anything. And now on top of that, he's got to deal with an international boycott that's being engineered and executed by this Jewish cabal against Germany. All right. Now, here's that headline I was telling you about, the Daily Express, London. There it is, receipts. Judea declares war on Germany. That's March 1933. The war between Germany and Poland doesn't break out until 1939, which was started by Poland, by the way. Pearl Harbor's not until 1941. Hey, there you go. Judea declares war on Germany. Subheadline, Jews of all the world unite. Now, to someone who's like uninitiated in this, either now or even back then, they might look at a headline like this. Well, big deal. They have no power. They don't have a country, an army. They're declaring war. No, they had immense power, as you know. Banking, Wall Street, media. They put President Roosevelt in power. They owned Churchill, etc. So this is not to be taken lightly. In fact, this is the same clique that brought about World War I. So when they declare war on you, it's not like a symbolic gesture. They've got the muscle to back it up. They may not have the guns and bombs, but they control the people who have the guns and bombs. Okay? Daily News. This is that same week, right after that declaration. 40,000 roar protest here against Hitler. That's Madison Square Garden. 40,000 more people there in a ball game, screaming against Hitler. So you know where this is going. It's going to take some time. They wanted him out, and if they weren't able to get him out internally, and they tried, there was an attempted communist coup. They burned the Reichstag. That was put down. Then there was another operation, probably by British intel, working with internal subgroup of the so-called Nazi Party to overthrow Hitler, and that was put down. They dubbed it Night of the Long Knives, so they couldn't get rid of him internally. That was their initial project. So now the external buildup comes. First the boycotts, and then the maneuvering for war. And you could see it already. 1933, massive demonstrations like that, and big declaration of war. So let us continue. Also, that declaration, read your quote from it, refers to this economic and propaganda war as, quote, a holy war to combat the Hitlerite enemies of the Jewish people. Now let's review. I call these the big four media of the day. Obviously, there's no internet back then. There's no TV yet either. So it's newspapers and the radio that have a disproportionate influence. There's still a degree of press journalistic freedom and objectivity in some of the smaller city, small town newspapers. So it wasn't totally media lockdown, but it was enough. You got these majors, and then you've got other radio stations and newspapers across the country feed off of them. So they had enough muscle to begin the process of influencing the majority of American people. These four institutions, we're going to go through them one by one and who their owners were. Number one, the New York Slimes. There it is. New York Slimes. This was actually founded in 1850s by a pair of Anglos who were original members of the Republican Party. It was a Republican conservative newspaper. 1896, this son of a bitch buys it. Adolph Oakes. So he owns it, and then he runs it for like 30-something years before passing it on to his son-in-law, C.L. Sulzberger, and it remains in control of the Sulzberger family to this day. Well, actually, it's under control of the Q operation now, but that's another story. So the Oakes-Sulzberger family since 1896 controlled this paper. And I tell you, like, I have access to the New York Times archives. That's how I do a lot of my research. And it's interesting. You'll find a lot of solid information in there. Because the way they used to play the game when this became a globalist Marxist Zionist newspaper, they couldn't make such a radical fundamental change right away. They put out a lot of good objective information. The trick was, what do you put on the front page versus what do you put in the back page? What do you repeat over and over what you only mentioned once or twice? So you could already see how they would manipulate. Nonetheless, there's a lot of good information in there, but they did begin a process of manipulation. So I'm going to read to you now about the Oakes-Sulzberger family in the New York Times. Since its founding in 1851 by Republican Henry Jarvis Raymond, the mighty New York Times had been a big player in shaping public opinion. In 1896, the Times, still experiencing financial problems due to the panic of 1893, and by the way, these panics, these crashes, 1893, 1907, 1871, they're always engineered. Boom, bust. 1893 was bad. Newspapers losing a lot of money. So he swooped in and bought it up on the cheap. Adolph Oakes bought up a Republican conservative newspaper established by one of the founders of the Republican Party, and then began the process of turning it leftward. So it took a turn to the internationalist left, sold on the cheap to a German Jew named Adolph Oakes. Oakes' daughter was married to Arthur H. Sulzberger, who became publisher when Adolf died in 1935. Sulzberger's great-grandson, Arthur G. Sulzberger, is publisher of the Times today. So for nearly 130 consecutive years and counting, America's mighty paper of record has been in the hands of the same Jewish globalist family. That's some serious power right there, because the New York Times served in that capacity for over a century, the paper of record, meaning essentially, if it doesn't appear in the New York Times, it's not really news. So the Times, they determine what the news is that the public should know about. And you can watch almost as an experiment what the New York Times reports in the morning. The 6 o'clock network news, that's what they lead with in the evening. So really totally hooked up with the cabal and the deep state. It's no exaggerating how powerful New York Times is. There's a fellow called Gore Vidal. I mean, he was a lefty. He was a queer. Nonetheless, broken clocks can be right twice a day. He once referred to as the New York Times as the typhoid Mary of American journalism. And that's the truth. That's where the lies begins so often. And then because it's in the prestigious New York Times, it quickly spreads, okay, and permeates the rest of the media. Jewish as you can get, Oakes Sulzberger. Oakes was very involved in Jewish causes in his day, and so was the Sulzberger family. And they were banging war drums against Hitler. Not as blatant as what you see, like, say, in the New York Daily News. It's a little more subtle, respectable. But make no mistake, they were steering the country in that direction. All right, who's next? Who's the next media mogul we want to talk about? That's Sulzberger. NBC Radio, David Sarnoff. In 1900, David Sarnoff, who was born in a small Jewish village in Tsarist Russia, immigrated to New York City. At the age of 15, he joined the Marconi Wireless Telegraph Company of America. By 1919, Sarnoff was the general manager of RCA Radio. In 1926, Sarnoff's RCA formed NBC, the first major broadcast network in the U.S. Sarnoff was instrumental in building the AM broadcasting radio business, which would become the preeminent public radio standard for the majority of the 20th century. During World War II, Sarnoff would serve under General Eisenhower, who they owned. The cabal totally owned that piece of shit, Eisenhower. Read my book, I Don't Like Ike, on my books and PDF section. But he worked under Eisenhower as a, quote, communications consultant, psychological warfare. Sarnoff, who had no military experience, would be awarded the rank of brigadier general. David Sarnoff and family went on to control RCA and NBC radio and TV for more than 60 years. He was an immensely powerful media giant of the 20th century. So, during the 20s and 30s, radio became as powerful or even more so than the newspapers. So people would gather around their living rooms. You know, today they watch the boob tube, but back then you're listening to the radio. And, you know, this voice in the radio is telling you what to think. And NBC was the biggest, most important, the first. And that is this guy, David Sarnoff. A very young man when he got started, and he built NBC. I'm sure he had cabal backers. Now, the image on the bottom there, you see him? He's being decorated. It's a brigadier general. He's getting stars and medals. So, on his own, he's the head of NBC already, and he's probably like in his 50s. He goes to Europe to serve as what? Psychological operations specialist, brigadier general. He was so proud that he was buried with his medals, proud of his service. Boy, that's a bit unsettling, is it? Can you imagine? He goes over there to work in communication, psychological operation, which was a vast, extensive operation for the Allies. This is how they propagandized the European public to turn against the Nazis, okay? And they engaged in so much really sneaky disinformation. There's a whole story there, but that he's a brigadier general in that effort. So now when he comes back to the United States, he's giving you the news. He's using the same tactics that they used to influence the peoples of Europe. That's NBC Radio. So you see what I mean? That's some power right there. You have the power to mold the minds of the magnitude of the masses. That's more power than any president or Congress can ever have. So, who's up next here? Oh, it just gets better. CBS Radio. William Paloff. You may have heard of this character. He went by the name William Paley. Some of these characters, they anglify their names so they can blend in. But William Paloff was the son of Jewish immigrants who came from the Ukraine region of the Tsarist Russian Empire. So these are all children of Bolshevists coming from the former Russian Empire. In 1928, the 27-year-old businessman secured majority ownership of the CBS radio network, of which his father, Samuel Paloff, had been part owner. It's his father who comes here from the Russian Empire. These people were chased out after they killed the Tsar and the original Tsar, not Nicholas, whose family they slaughtered. Alexander. In the 1880s, there was a pogroms, persecution. You're killing their czars. But these are the kind of characters who come here. They wash up in Brooklyn or someplace. And his father, part owner of CBS, and then he becomes full owner. So it's literally Bolsheviks came here to start taking over the media. During the 1930s, Paley expanded CBS into a national powerhouse with 114 affiliate stations. During World War II, Paley, like Sarnoff of NBC, would also serve under General Eisenhower as a colonel in the psychological warfare branch of the Office of War Information. This is all deep fakery propaganda, CIA, forerunners of the CIA stuff. So he, like Sarnoff, is serving in World War II. Just imagine that. These guys are adult now in their 50s. They run these major media empires, and they left to go to Europe to serve a general and a colonel. Psych warfare. And then they come back and they do the same psych warfare on us. As the king of CBS radio and later TV, Paley was, without question, one of the most powerful figures of the 20th century. With David Sarnoff already controlling RCA NBC radio and Paley now in control of CBS radio, the important pre-TV medium of radio was, by then, mainly under Jewish control. Affiliates all over the country. Hitler bad, Japan bad. That's what they started doing. Like Sarnoff's NBC, Paley's CBS will shape what Americans believe for many years to come. And both of these guys lived to be old enough to expand the operation to television. So in the 50s and the 60s, and everybody had television. Paley, I think he lived until the 1980s or something. So there's the guy who gave you 60 Minutes and All in the Family, all that left-wing propaganda. And so he would be the third major mogul controlling U.S. media on the eve of World War II or during the buildup to World War II. Let me see here. Where is Paley? I wanted to show you a picture of this son of a bitch. Don't tell me I didn't print one out. Oh, here he is. Here he is. All right, there he is as a young man, early day CBS radio. He is the king of CBS, Columbia Broadcasting Network. You notice the logo of CBS? It's an eyeball. Think about it. Giant eyeball, same eyeball on top of the pyramid, the Illuminati pyramid on the back of a dollar bill. So he's Cabal. And there he is, another soldier boy, a colonel in psychological warfare. We're going to go there and we're going to brainwash people, turn them against the Nazis. You see, Germany was compelled to occupy many different countries in order to prevent the British and the Allies from coming through those countries. And they did their best to, reassure the people. We have no dark intentions. We're here to protect your neutrality. The countries were treated very well in the German occupation. A lot of people were actually pro-German. So they had to begin the process of turning the European peoples against the Nazis. It was psychological warfare, atrocity propaganda. And that's what they did. And it's just amazing when you think about it. Men of this stature. I mean, Bill Paley was CBS. for a half a century. David Sarnoff was NBC for a half a century. And then when David Sarnoff died, the reins passed to his son, Robert Sarnoff, and they're involved in psychological operations. Okay? So that's who brought you all your news and what I like to call your shitcoms all these years. Situation comedies. Okay, so that's 3. Now, the 4th big dog. It's amazing. Each of these guys is bigger than the other one. The Washington Post, Eugene Meyer. I recently did a piece on Eugene Meyer and his daughter, Catherine Meyer Graham. Eugene Meyer took out Hoover because he was chairman of the Fed, crashed the economy. And his daughter later took out Nixon with that Watergate bullshit. Okay, so that's the Meyers. The Washington Post was one of many businesses to go bankrupt during the Great Depression, just like the New York Times had been struggling after the Panic of 1893. In June of 1933, the owner, Ned McLean, another Anglo, used to own America's other most important newspaper, Ned McLean, and it was basically, more of a right-leaning paper. But he had to unload the Washington Post at a bankruptcy auction. The buyer was the Jewish Federal Reserve Chairman, Eugene Meyer. He actually stepped down from the Fed. He had done his dirty work, crashed the economy, got rid of Hoover, got FDR elected. Now he's buying the Washington Post at bankruptcy. And this is the Great Depression. Newspapers make their money on advertising. Nobody's spending money on ads. He lost money for years with the Washington Post. It's a fact. But he didn't care. He bought it for influence. Having just stepped down from the Federal Reserve, Meyer immediately changed the Post's editorial policy, transforming the influential paper into a pro-FDR, anti-Germany, and soft on Joe Stalin propaganda sheet. The Post will lose money for 20 more years, but Myers doesn't care. He bought the Post for influence, not profit. The Post will later be handed down to his daughter, the late Catherine Meyer Graham. By the way, one of the first things he did is he fired the editor of the Post, because at that time, the United States did not recognize the Soviet Union as a legitimate country, a legitimate entity. It was considered a band of criminals. That's what they were. A bunch of murderers and thugs overthrew the Tsar, killed his whole family, killed the whole, millions of people, right? Blew up churches. It was just considered a criminal bandit state. It was not recognized by the United States. But the lefties and the Jews wanted to recognize the Soviet Union, which FDR indeed did in 33 or 34. But the previous editor of the Washington Post was opposed to that policy. Eugene Meyer wanted to editorialize in favor of it. So he didn't go along with it, fired him. Pro-Stalin. And that's the Washington Post, which is second only to the New York Times in terms of influence as far as newspapers go. It might not have the broad reach of the New York Times and its wire service, but mainly what the Washington Post does, it's a very close community. They call it inside the Beltway. You got your congressmen are there, your senators are there, various administrators and all the agencies. You can influence that particular crowd. You therefore leverage the power. So this is a very powerful newspaper. There he is. Eugene Meyer crashed the economy under Hoover, choked off the money supply, and that's what got FDR elected. And FDR went on to change the world for the worst. And Meyer then steps down, buys the Washington Post. So let us review here. Look at these characters. A clean sweep of Jewish moguls. Time Magazine cover boys all. And you know my rule on Time Magazine. Anybody who gets a puff piece cover on Time Magazine, you automatically know they're a villain. Conversely, anybody who is vilified by Time Magazine, you know in some way he's resisting the cabal. But there they are. Meyer, Paley, Sulzberger, and Sarnoff. These men were giants. And frankly, if I had to compile a list of the 10 most powerful people in American history, all 4 of these guys would be on the list. In addition to people like Bernard Baruch, maybe George Soros. No presidents, forget that. They're nothing. They come and go 4 years, 8 years if you're lucky. They ain't shit. President's nothing. He serves at the pleasure of this crowd. because they bring up the presidents and they can tear them down. Okay? So there it is. On the eve of World War II, the four most powerful media sources in America were all under Jewish globalist anti-German ownership. Washington Post, Eugene Meyer, CBS, William Paloff, New York Times, the Oaks-Sulzberger dynasty, and NBC, Robert Sarnoff. And there's more, by the way. There's the Newhouse dynasty. There's actually many more. Not quite as big. Actually, I probably should have put Newhouse on this list. But they became bigger after World War II, actually. So maybe not. But so you see, when you see a headline, Jews declare war, and then you appreciate the power that they had over journalism. Okay. We were going to war. American people didn't know it. But it wasn't just the fake news. Hollywood. Now, Hollywood's as Jewish as a bar mitzvah. That's a known fact. They even admit that. I mean, they downplay it. But look at the moguls of, these are the guys who ran Hollywood. They were chased out of New York, New Jersey by Thomas Edison because they were using his equipment without paying royalties. He had patents on it. He was suing the hell out of them. So they packed up, they moved out to California. So Edison couldn't touch them. You know, back in those days, going out to California is like going to another planet, right? And they founded Hollywood, but they're all Jewish. All right. Lamell, Fox, which was originally Fochs, Goldwyn, Warner, Meyer, Zukor. So this encompasses MGM, Universal, Warner Brothers, 20th Century Fox. Okay. And I want to read you a quote from Neil Gabler. This is a Jewish author. He wrote a book called An Empire of Their Own, How the Jews Invented Hollywood. So he's praising them. He's kind of like bragging about them. So this is not a critical expose that's maybe not biased. No, this is fact. The Hollywood Jews created a powerful images and ideas, so powerful that, in a sense, they colonized the American imagination. Ultimately, American values came to be defined by the movies that Jews made. So how influential was Hollywood? So you've got the fake news giving you bad information, and then you've got the Hollywood big screen embedding propaganda messages in their films, which influence people on a subconscious level. This is immense power. And they were all doing their part before Pearl Harbor. Back in 38, 39, they're already putting out anti-Nazi movies. Why? They're conditioning the public. And then, of course, there's the newsreels that they would run, because they didn't have TV in those days, but everybody went to the cinema. And before the movie started, or maybe during the intermission, they would show you a newsreel, the news of the world, embed propaganda in there. So, you know, in a sense, the influence of Hollywood may have been even the equal of the influence of those four fake news media moguls I just told you about. These guys were immense. All doing their duty in accordance with that headlines I just showed you, Judea declares war on Germany. Comic books. Now, again, Pearl Harbor's not till 1941. FDR is reassuring everyone, oh, we're neutral. We're not going to war. Your boys are not going to war. Don't listen to these Charles Lindbergh types, America First, conspiracy theorists. He didn't use that term back then. He was very dismissive of the truthers or anons of the day who knew what FDR was up to and who owned FDR. So Pearl Harbor's not till December 1941, and that was engineered by FDR. There's a whole story there. Read my book, The Bad War. But look at the comic books. Timely Comics. This was the forerunner of Marvel Comics in 1939, right? March. So not only has the war between Germany and Poland not started, there's no war at all. That's not till September. But in March of 1939, on their cover, Captain America, the very first issue comic book, you see it right there. There's Captain America beating up Hitler. And all of these Nazi soldiers are shooting machine guns at Captain America, but it doesn't hurt him. And you might not be able to see it in this image. It's very small, but there's a little map on the ground. Hitler's got a map of the United States, and next to it says plans for the USA. So Hitler's going to take over the USA, don't you know? And a lot of people were upset when they saw that. I mean, adults don't read the comic books, actually. But You go to a magazine stand, you see this image, or the kids buy the comic books and they bring it in the house, and you see this imagery. And there was a U.S. senator was really like railing against this, wanted answers. What is this all about? What is this Captain America fighting Hitler here? Well, who ran Timely Comics? Okay, there they are, left to right. I'm going to give you their names. That's Martin Goodman, Joe Simon, and Jack Kirby, all Jewish. And this is what they're putting on the cover of their magazine. You know, I stand corrected. That was March 1941. So the war was going on in Europe. But it's still like, 8 months before Pearl Harbor. And FDR, he had just gotten reelected a few months earlier on the promise. I said it again, your boys are not going to foreign wars. That was a big issue back then. The American public believed it. And then you see a comic book like this. What's up? What are these guys up to? So even in the comic books, so wherever they were in the professions, in the media, in the Hollywood, any Jew who had a degree of influence was doing his part in getting the United States prepared for war. And on the political end, you have FDR and all of his maneuverings that he was doing behind the scenes. It's all explained in my book, to provoke Germany and provoke Japan into somehow firing the first shot. This way he could play victim and take the country to war. But none of that would have been possible without this multi-year propaganda buildup by these characters, so that when Pearl Harbor came, the public was ready to go. And then during the war and after the war, it continued, the lies and the propaganda. And you understand this stuff. You know, is it really that hard to believe that they invented the whole hoax and sold it to you? It's the same cast of characters. And they kept lying to us throughout the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, etc. And they grew more and more powerful. They could pull off anything, like kill a U.S. president in 1963 and say, oh, it was a lone gunman, or blow up the Twin Towers and say, oh, it's jet fuel and Osama bin Laden. They could sell anything. But you have to understand how long this problem has existed. And the pieces were already in place before World War II. If you understand that, I think it'll open your mind more to this, what seems like a nutty idea, but it's not. That is the fact that World War II was 100, and World War I were 100% imposed upon peaceful Germany, which did not want war. So get those books if you don't already have them. In the description box below, you can get all 36 of my books for just $29 in PDF format, or you can get the physical books at realnewsandhistory.com. And I hope you enjoyed this video and you found it informative, because it's still very important to talk about this stuff because it relates to the modern day. And if so, from time to time, if you enjoy my writing and my videos, buy me a cup of coffee. You'll see a link in the description box below. And when you do that, there's also a little box you could check if you want to do it on a monthly basis to help support my work, especially in the wake of Amazon, Kindle, holocausting my entire account, removing all my books. So that would be much appreciated. Also, as always, I hate having to repeat this every show, but there's new people who come on board all the time. There's this character pretending to be me in the comments, inviting people to have a look at his financial products. That's not me. You see that post in the comments, vote it down. I'm only in the description box. So let's see. That's all I got for today. Thanks for stopping by. I'll be back soon with another interesting video. Thank you.
All right. Mike King. Yep. Interesting little piece he did there, right? I like what he did. And he covered a lot of really good stuff. All right, with that, I've got to get out there and run these dogs. I've given you 3 hours. If you haven't sucked up enough information by now, then by God, you'll have to grab it from somebody else today, because I got no more to give you. I don't. I'm out. I'm all out. You know. But we do need this.
Which sativa is right. what's good this time. Maybe you're creating, maybe chores are due. Maybe you just need a brighter point of view. Don't pick a name, cause the label looks right. Ask yourself, which sativa sits right? Need a little energy, need a little green, need to get the creative wheel spinning again. Take it easy, know your height, and find which sativa sits right. Which sativa sits right? For the kind of day you're living today. Need some sunshine in your mind, or a little push to get underway. Cinderella when the day's still young. Lemon dairy for some lemon fuel fun. Silver haze when creation takes flight. Black widow when you know what bites. Everybody's different. That's alright. So tell me, which sativa sits right? Cinderella 99 comes dancing through. Citrus in the air with the piney little groove. Daytime lady with some pep in the shoes. When sitting on the couch and what you want to choose. The lemon dairy brings that lemon parade. Bright little attitude for a beautiful day. Sweet little spark when the mood needs light. Maybe that's the sativa sitting right. Need a little laughter, need a little spark. Need some inspiration before it gets dark. No need to hurry, keep the ghost light and find which sativa sits right. Hey. Which sativa sits right? For the kind of day you're living today. Need some sunshine in your mind, or a little push to get underway. Cinderella when the day's still young. Lemon dairy for some lemon fuel fun. Silver haze when creation takes flight. Black widow when you know what bites. Everybody's different. That's alright. So tell me, which sativa sits right? Super silver haze comes rolling on strong. Got an idea in your head, she might move it along. Creative motivation with a hazy little view. You might start painting and forget what you meant to do. Then Black Widow whispers, she's sure about me. She's carrying some venom at 24 THC. Not the first dance for a beginner tonight. Respect that lady. And a powerful bite. One says daytime, one says create, one says easy, friend, don't underestimate. One smells lemon, one citrus and pine. One gives hazy while you're losing track of time. Dry mouth, water racing hard, slow down. You don't win the trophy for the biggest cloud in town. Start low, take your time, and treat yourself right. Cause more ain't always better when you're choosing the night. Which sativa sits right? Listen to yourself. Just because you love one don't mean you need it off the shelf. Cinderella when there's daylight to burn. Lemon dairy when you need that sunny turn. Silver haze when the muse takes flight. Black widow, better know that bite. Different days need a different light. So tell me, which sativa sits right? Oh, which sativa sits right? Oh, which sativa sits right? 4 little jars and a whole lot of life. Just find which sativa sits right. And if you can't remember which one you picked, I'd say you probably picked enough.
All right. Yeah. Nice little safety meeting at the end there, because we got to have that sometimes. Got to have that. You got to have the pre end of the show, and then you've got to have the outro part of the show, and then there's always the after one. But we never get to share that one because it's after, you know. So we're gonna go to the outro right after this. But please remember that God loves you, Jesus loves you, and I love you. And I hope I'll be back with you tomorrow. I'm not positive. I've got to get some things got out here, and we'll see what happens. If I achieve my goal, I will do one tomorrow. Probably either about the same time. It'll be somewhere between 11 and 1. I can't get on any earlier than that, and I sure as heck really don't like going much later than that. So we'll see what transpires. And other than that, I love you. We'll see you guys again tomorrow. In the meantime, keep your head on Swoop.
Woke up this morning to a world on fire. Everybody shouting, climbing walls of wire. Fear on the TV, lies across the screen. Hard to know these days what anything means. But I hear my Father's voice down in my soul. Stand up straight, don't let the darkness take control. Love your neighbor, hold the line, stay alive. Open up your eyes and let your spirit drive. Don't let the noise pull you under. Don't lose your heart in the thunder. Keep your head on a swivel, keep your eyes on the light. There's still love in the middle of the fight tonight. When the road gets narrow and the world feels cold, keep your heart wide open and never let go. Keep your head on a swivel, but your soul on the rise. There's a whole lot of beauty still left in these eyes. Yeah, the world may shake, but we're not gonna break. We were born for more than survival. Little old lady waving from a porch swing. Kids on the sidewalk still learning to dream. Somebody praying in the middle of pain. Somebody dancing in the pouring rain. There's still good people helping strangers stand. Still working hard with calloused hands. Still holding family, still holding faith. Still finding hope when it all feels late. Don't let the fear define you. There's still a fire inside you. Keep your head on a swivel, keep your eyes on the light. There's still love in the middle of the fight tonight. When the road gets narrow and the world feels cold, keep your heart wide open and never let go. Keep your head on a swivel, but your soul on the rise. There's a whole lot of beauty still left in these eyes. Yeah, the world may shake, but we're not gonna break. We were born for more than survival. Oh, don't forget who you are. You were made from the dust and the stars. Oh, even when shadows fall, love is still the strongest thing of all. Keep your head on a swivel, don't lose your grace. Every scar tells a story, every soul has a place. And if somebody stumbles, you help them stand tall. That's the kind of strength that can heal us all. Keep your head on a swivel, keep your faith alive. There's still hope for tomorrow as long as we try. Yeah, the world may change, but love